Every time I resolve the obsession of a death row prisoner, I can awaken a portion of the martial wisdom of the ancient sword Immortal. Yet, I was born into a family of executioners overflowing with murderous aura for generations. To avoid being eliminated as an anomaly by my family, I never uttered a single rebirth mantra while supervising executions. This caused my spiritual clarity to be clouded for 18 years, making me appear like an ordinary person. One originally planned to continue playing the fool for a few more years, waiting for an opportunity to break away from the family entirely. Who would have thought that a sigh from old Lee, a death row inmate, would completely disrupt my thoughts? All younger generations of the family assemble at the execution hall immediately. When this cold voice echoed through the estate, my heart sank abruptly. After stepping quickly into that dark and chilling hall, the scene before me made me clench my fists instantly. A cold and elegant woman, wearing a plain white dress covered in blood, was being locked firmly to the demon-slaying pillar by 9 heavy dark iron chains. A dark red figure suddenly swept in from outside the hall, with a nauseating look of mockery and madness on his face. Su Qing'an, the top prodigy of this generation from the Heavenly Mystery sect, killed over 300 wicked members of our Lin family's branch alone. You pride yourself as the light of the righteous path. Did you ever think that today you would be like a dog with a broken back, falling into the hands of my Lin family? The person speaking is none other than my cousin, Lin Kuang. Although my face remained as calm as still water, stormy waves were already surging in my heart. The Heavenly Mystery sect, that iron-blooded sect that died in battle, at the far north defense line just to protect the common people. Su Qing'an is the last survivor they left behind. Just as I lowered my head to endure as usual, the heart that had been silent for 18 years suddenly throbbed. The dim natal miniature sword in my mind erupted with brilliant fluorescence. A flood of ancient information rushed into my soul at high speed. Resolve the fall of the guardian, Su Qing'an. The obsession will grant the peerless sword bone and awaken 50 years of supreme cultivation. My eyes widened suddenly. It's been a full 18 years.
This
is the first time the Immortal's wisdom in my mind has actively prompted me to resolve an obsession. To be able to obtain such terrifying cultivation. Just as Lin Kuang pulled out a bone-scraping knife, preparing to destroy Su Qing'an's Kyoshin at the critical moment, a countermeasure flashed through my mind like lightning. The sword bone instantly possessed my body. I pretended to be bloodthirsty and furious, rushing in front of Lin Kuang like a wolf protecting its food. I raised my palm suddenly. Asterisk slap asterisk. An incredibly crisp sound of a slap echoed through the hall. On Lin Kuang's arrogant and overbearing cheek, 5 deep purple finger marks instantly appeared. Several bloody teeth flew right out. He was completely dazed by this slap, covering his face.
He stared blankly at the famous loser before him.
I gritted my teeth, my eyes bloodshot, performing the madness of a psychopathic executioner to the extreme. You piece of trash. You want to touch my prey? Lin Kuang roared while clutching his face, his voice filled with unbelievable humiliation. Lin Fan, have you gone mad? She is the mortal enemy of our Lin family. What the hell do you know? I turned around abruptly, looking intently at the high-seated head of the Lin family, Great Elder Lin Juyu. I deliberately showed an extremely greedy and bloodthirsty expression. Great Elder, this woman must be handled by me. I've been stuck at the peak of the body-tempering realm for 3 years, all because of the lack of murderous aura in my body. This woman possesses the natural top-grade noble sword veins. I want to use the Lin family's most cruel, marrow-draining art, to drain her sword marrow inch by inch, to temper my god-slaying blade. As I reached the end, I deliberately made a cruel throat-slitting gesture. The Lin family disciples in the hall had varying expressions. Everyone knew that I was a loser in the Lin family, treated worse than a dog. Great Elder Lin Juyu frowned slightly, a hint of suspicion flashing in his cloudy eyes. However, this woman is of great importance. She hides the final secret sword art of the Heavenly Mystery sect within her. With severe torture, we can surely force the manual out. You haven't even reached the key condensation realm. If I hand her to you, I'm afraid you won't be able to suppress her counterattack. Seeing that Lin Jiu was about to refuse, I directly drew the decapitation saber from my waist and slammed it onto the bluestone slab beneath Su Qing'an's feet. Stone fragments flew everywhere. I let out a sinister roar. Great Elder, don't you worry about that. Although my cultivation is low, when it comes to methods of torture, who in the Ling family can best me? I'm a monster raised in the death row dungeons. I will trample her pride under my feet and make her surrender the sword art in absolute despair. Su Qing'an raised her head in humiliation, her cold eyes filled with despair and determined hatred. In your dreams, you shameless villain. In my heavenly mystery sect, there are only ghosts who died in battle, never people who kneel. Great Elder Lin Juyu shouted coldly. Lin Fan stepped down first. This woman's bones are very tough. It's not up to you. His figure flickered, and his withered hand reached toward Su Qing'an's head. At this critical moment, I suddenly looked up to the sky and howled, laughing out loud, my eyes filled with demonic madness. Everyone was stunned by my sudden change. Lin Jiu's hand, suspended in midair, stopped abruptly. He stared at me with a gloomy face. Lin Fan, what kind of madness are you in now? I put away the great saber, slowly straightened my blood-stained robes, and uttered 4 words emphatically. Great Elder, you are being muddled. Killing intent flashed in Lin Jiu's eyes. What did you say? I did not back down at all. Startling golden light bursting from my eyes, pointing my finger directly at Su Qing'an. For 18 years, why has my cultivation failed to progress? It is because our Lin family's killing techniques lack a top-tier whetstone. Until I saw her and felt her noble spirit that would rather die than submit, it collided violently with the monstrous killing intent in my heart. My god-slaying heart finally showed a hint of breaking through its cocoon. As soon as these words were spoken, the whole hall was shocked. Lin Jiu's eyes were filled with shock and bewilderment. Using noble spirit as the tripod and killing intent as the furnace, colliding and merging to refine the supreme god-slaying Dao path. Lin Jiu's voice trembled slightly with excitement. Is this true? You understood the incomplete verse left by the ancestor? I puffed out my chest, vowing solemnly, bringing the art of lying to its pinnacle. I can feel it. The invisible bottleneck is right before me. Just one last step. I must have her. Once these words came out, no one in the hall dared to object anymore. Although Lin Jiu coveted the sword art inside Su Qing'an, he knew better than anyone what a peerless genius who understood the god-slaying Dao meant to the Lin family, which was surrounded by enemies. He slowly withdrew his hand, his voice deep. Since this woman is of great use for your Dao refinement, then she is yours to take back to the dungeon. But I will only give you 3 days. I forcefully suppressed the overwhelming joy surging in my heart. 18 whole years, I finally waited for a chance to defy fate. Elder, rest assured, within 3 days, I will make the entire clan witness the killer's heart that will emerge from my cocoon. Su Qing'an, standing nearby, heard this proclamation. His face turned utterly ashen. Dying on the demon execution pillar would at least be quick. But falling into the hands of this twisted butcher,
He'd surely suffer inhumane torment.
even his soul would be torn apart. He slowly closed his eyes. 2 streams of tears slid down his breathtaking cheeks. The dog of the neighbor's family. Just kill me already. I can't be bothered to waste any more words. I grabbed the heavy Zhuan iron chain binding him. A cruel, cold smile appeared at the corner of my mouth. Don't worry, little beauty. I'll make you taste all 18 forms of torture. You'll beg to live and wish you could die. After finishing my words with everyone watching, I drag him off like prey, pulling the staggering Su Qing'an along, strutting boldly out of the main hall. The voices of Ling Kuang and others come from behind. Jealousy and mockery. The proud snow lotus of Tingshuan's sect falls into that madman's hands. He won't even leave behind bone fragments. He'll absorb that earth-shattering sword bone. These words entered Su Qing'an's ears without missing a syllable. He struggled violently, cursing furiously. Lin Fan, you shameless loser. the heroes of my Tiangshuan sect. If they die in heaven, we'll call down divine lightning from the ninth heavens to utterly destroy filth like you. I ignore him, but I'm ranting madly in my heart. My dear auntie, can't you be quiet for a minute? Save some energy, so you can cooperate with my act later. I pull him, dashing all the way back to the remote depths where I live. As the heavy dragon severing stone thundered down, it completely cut off outside surveillance. The cruelty and madness on my face vanished instantly, leaving no trace. I exhaled a long breath, walked straight up, with an extremely solemn expression. Miss Su, you offended Tangshuan sect, guarded the extreme north, and shed the last drop of blood for all living beings. Though I, Lin Fen, live in the dark domain, I still admire true heroes. My words made the struggling Su King unfreeze completely. He stared at me in disbelief. Those clear, determined eyes nowhere held any of the hall's twisted bloodlust. Su Qing'an bit his lips hard. His vigilance peaked. You can't trick me. No way, the Lin family's butchers would have such kindness. Don't think that with this tactic. You'll coax me into giving up my sex sword manual. I sighed, knowing words were too weak. With a thought, I drew out the pure soul voice deep in my spiritual platform. A clear sword name soared skyward from the death cell. In my palm, suddenly appeared a sword aura as golden and pure as possible. It was a mighty, enduring, unyielding supreme sword intent. This aura was completely opposite the Lin family's sinister energy. Su Qing'an was utterly stunned. As the top prodigy of Tangshuan sect, he couldn't be more familiar with this mighty sword intent. But this wasted member of the Lin family unleashed a sword intent, even 100 times purer than his deceased master. I pressed 2 fingers together. Brilliant sword light shot from my fingertips. With a swoosh, I lightly tapped the indestructible Zhuan iron chain. A chain even the Grand Elder couldn't cut, crumbled inch by inch like rotten wood. Falling in pieces to the ground, Su Qing'an completely lost his support. His legs buckled. I quickly caught him, grabbing his tottering body. He stared dazedly at me. All his oppression from countless days and nights, despair from a broken home and loss. After sensing this familiar and mighty sword intent, he finally couldn't hold back. He suddenly pushed me away, fell to his knees, sobbing uncontrollably. It was the collapse of faith, and then the wailing after seeing hope again. Why? Who are you really? I thought there was no righteous path left in this world. Detecting Su Qing'an's isolated death wish. Obsession resolved. Obsession resolution, 100%. Reward, 50 years of refined cultivation as ancient sword immortal. Reward issued, directly to Swordbone. A rumbling sound, as the ethereal voice in my mind fell away. An ocean-like terrifying force suddenly exploded throughout my body. All the blocked meridians in my body for 18 years were swept clean by the vast sword aura, emitting thunderous blasts. Body refining state, Qi gathering state, Yuan condensing state, true sea state. My cultivation soared like a rocket, in a manner that would shock everyone in the cultivation world, rapidly breaking through realm after realm. Eventually, that earth-shattering aura, after reaching the peak of the true sea state, finally withdrew, a complete transformation in an instant. Su Qing'an nearby was totally dumbfounded. He even forgot to cry. Who breaks through realms, directly crossing 4 major stages, without even pausing to catch his breath. Lin Linfen, you surpassed me, feeling inside me, this terrifying power that could shatter mountains with a punch. An indescribable joy flooded my heart. 18 years of humiliation and playing the fool. Do you know what I've endured all these years? Just as I was about to help Su Qing'an up, when Zhang Yi would help him escape the Lin family, my newfound powerful spiritual sense suddenly sensed a very faint, yet deadly aura, rapidly approaching. Someone is coming to the death cell, and they're definitely not here to patrol. They're here to kill us off. No other choice. The arrow is already knocked. We have to make the act real. I suddenly turned to look at Su Qing'an. That lost, helpless look quickly lowered his voice. His tone became extremely urgent. Someone is coming to kill you. There's a traitor in the Lin family who wants your sword manual for himself. Cooperate with my acting now. Only a top assassin could sneak into the death cell. We need to create some extremely brutal commotion to make them let their guard down. Su Qing'an hesitated for a second, still hadn't reacted. What brutal commotion? I had no time left to explain. I slapped the torture rack with my hand. With a loud bang, I shouted at the top of my lungs, let out a mad, devilish laugh. Su Qing'an, so what if your bones are tough? How's the taste of the water-extracting, bone-piercing needle? Scream louder for me, scream. As I shouted wildly, I kept frantically hinting at him with my eyes. Su Qing'an's cheeks instantly flushed red as snow. Her quick wit finally made her realize what was happening. To survive, she could only bite her lip open. She let out a shrill, even trembling, blood-curdling scream. Lin Fan, kill me. You beast! Even if I die, I'll never let you go. Accompanied by the crackling of my constant blows to the torture device, the entire death cell echoed with the terrifying sounds of torment. Just then, the heavy black iron door of the prison was silently unlocked by an invisible force. Without a sound, it was unsealed. A shadowy figure, ghost-like, hid in the darkness, slithered out like a venomous snake, holding an orchid dagger coated in deadly poison, and lunged straight at Su Qing'an's throat. Since you won't hand over the sword manual, then you can die with it. The assassin's voice was hoarse, his murderous aura surging fiercely.
He was actually a top-tier Ningyuan realm expert.
In this assassin's eyes, I was just a worthless nobody, not even at key gathering stage. He didn't spare me a glance. All his killing intent was focused entirely on the bound Su Qing'an. Watch out, Su Qing'an cried. However, just as the poison blade was less than half an inch from her throat, a fair hand appeared out of nowhere, firmly seizing the assassin's wrist. The assassin's pupils shrank down to a needle's point. He turned his head in shock, meeting my eyes, now stripped of all disguise, cold and indifferent like a god gazing at an ant. You damned dog from next door. Did you really take my death row cell for a public restroom? Come as you please. Leave whenever you want. I smiled slightly, baring my white teeth. How could you possibly? Panic finally flickered in the assassin's eyes. A look of utter terror finally appeared on his face. He tried desperately to force his inner energy to resist, but found a domineering and overwhelming sword key, had followed my hand, and completely sealed all his meridians. Dare to lay hands on my people. You'd better be prepared for your soul to be destroyed. I didn't even draw my sword, just shaped my fingers like a blade, and casually pointed forward. A beam of dazzling golden sword light pierced straight through the assassin's brow. No earth-shattering explosion, only unstoppable annihilation. A top-class assassin in the Minyuan realm couldn't even let out a single scream before my finger turned him into a silent pile of ashes. Clang, the bamboo dagger fell to the ground. Dead silence fell across the entire death cell. Su Qing'an's red lips parted, completely stunned as she stared at me. Absolute domination, cross-realm insta-kill. I walked to the ashes and flicked my toe. A jade token engraved with strange totems flew into my hand. Looking at that token, the smile on my face vanished completely, replaced by unprecedented seriousness. This isn't a Lin family shadow guard token. I crushed the token, squinting my eyes. The secret line surfaced at last. So the destruction of the Tangshuan sect was never just the work of the Lin family. The Lin family was nothing but a pawn in someone else's hand. Today's assassination was someone cleaning up witnesses. If I hadn't awoken today, once Su Qing'an died, the Lin family would take the fall for everything. That mastermind behind the scenes would push them out as scapegoats. What a grand scheme. What a vicious chain plot. I turned my head, looking at Su Qing'an still collapsed on the ground. The corner of my mouth curled up again. Miss Su, it seems your life is even more valuable than I thought. This muddy water. I'm Lin Fan, and I'm diving right in today. I stepped forward and pulled her up, staring intensely into her eyes. Do you want revenge? In Su Qing'an's eyes, a desperate will to survive and a fierce anger erupted. She nodded heavily. I want it more than anything, even in my dreams. Good. I casually tossed her a black robe from the ground. From now on, Su Qing'an of the Changshuan sect has died under Lin family torture. Your new identity is now my personal swordsman, and I'm taking you through this hell of fiends to carve out a path straight to the heavens. At that moment, a flurry of footsteps suddenly sounded outside the cell, accompanied by the thunderous roar of Elder Ling Jiyu. Seal off the death cell. There are intruders. Arrest them immediately. Lin Fan questioned them. A powerful sense of crisis instantly shrouded the dungeon. Golden light flashed in my eyes. Well, would you look at that, Lin family cries thief as soon as trouble rises? Lin family's reckoning is just getting started. Hearing the deafening footsteps, the corner of my mouth curled into a chilling sneer. Old fox Lin Jiyu thinks he's clever. Even my great-grandfather in hell must have heard it. He clearly knew about the assassin coming, deliberately waiting to trap everyone after the assassin acted. If I hadn't awakened just now and responded quickly, I'd be lying here, accused of colluding with outsiders, dead and labeled a criminal. Su Qing'an, hide all your presence. Put on the blood-stained robe. Wear that iron mask. From now on, you're a blood-soaked corpse driven insane by my torture, devoid of all reason. Su Qing'an, clever as ever, immediately understood my intention. She wrapped herself in the blood-stained black robe, her hair loose and disheveled, wearing a half-mask of cold iron. She now exuded a lifeless, hopeless aura. Boom! The massive dragon-slaying stone was smashed apart by a surging, violent ki. Amidst the rising dust, Elder Lin Jiyu led dozens of elite Lin clan members, rushing in like demons from hell. My cousin Lin Kuang charged at the front, his face filled with excitement and hatred. He pointed at me and shouted, "Lin Fan, you traitor to the Lin family! How dare you secretly collude with outsiders and kill people here to silence witnesses? Guards, seize him. Execute him on the spot." I stood still without moving an inch. There wasn't a trace of panic on my face. Instead, I threw my head back and laughed wildly. Lin Kuang, not only are you useless, but you're blind as well. My sudden bout of wild laughter left all the elite Lin family guards frozen in place. Lin Jiyu's face darkened. He stared hard at me. His gaze swept across the empty death cell. But he didn't see the assassin's corpse he expected. Only a pile of black ashes on the ground. And the one I was shielding behind me was Lin Fan. Don't get arrogant. Lin Jiyu snapped coldly. Just now, a massive surge of true energy exploded inside the cell. You're not even at the gathering key stage, a useless trash. How could you cause such chaos? Where did the assassin go? And where's that bitch Su Qing'an? I let out a cold laugh, and suddenly stepped forward.
Booze.
I compressed the vast spiritual power from my grand perfection sea of true ki, deep inside my danshan. I forced out just a sliver of extremely condensed golden sword energy, and disguised it as the Lin family's unique dark red aura, unleashing it with a boom. In an instant, a terrifying killing intent as real as substance erupted from me as the center, sweeping through the entire cell like a storm. The surrounding temperature dropped to freezing. The nearby Ling family elites were actually forced to stagger backward by the murderous aura. Their faces turned deathly pale.
Even Lin Jiyu gasped in shock.
His murky eyes sparked with disbelief and terror. That is the legendary Killing Gods Tao Foundation in just 10 lines. Elder, you have sharp eyes. I raised my head with pride. My gaze was domineering like a demon king. Just now I was using the water extraction evil dissolving technique to torture Su Qing'an, about to absorb his righteous energy and fully forge my Killing Gods Tao Foundation. Who would have thought some fool would break in unknowingly, trying to assassinate Su Qing'an and cover things up? Just at the critical moment when Lin Fan was deciphering, how could I let anyone interrupt? Furious, I unleashed my Tao Foundation. Riding a violent wave of demonic energy from my breakthrough, I blasted the assassin into ashes scattered everywhere. I pointed at that spot on the floor, at the pile of ashes with not even bone fragments left. My tone was aggressive and forceful. Elder, someone doesn't want our Lin family to get the celestial sword manual of the Tangshuan sect. This assassin came and went like a shadow. If I hadn't happened to break through, Su Qing'an would already be a corpse. I'd like to know how the family law enforcement hall let such a dangerous assassin get in here. This counterattack flipped the situation, putting Lin Juyu squarely on the hot seat. He had let the assassin in on purpose, but now I called him out in front of everyone. His old face flushed bright purple with anger. But he still couldn't figure out how a top assassin at peak condensed yuan stage
could
be blasted to ashes by some greenhorn who just formed his Dao foundation. Lin Kuang was unwilling to let me go. He pointed at Su Qing'an behind me and yelled, "That's nonsense. Even if you broke through by dumb luck, what about Su Qing'an? Who is this masked freak behind you?" As he spoke, Lin Kuang reached out to grab Su Qing'an's mask. Looking for death, my gaze turned icy cold. Without using any true energy, just relying on my tempered sword bones, I swung my arm back and slapped him hard. A brutal strike. Crack. Boom. With that slap, the force was absolutely terrifying. Lin Kuang didn't have time to react at all. He was sent flying like he'd been hit by a charging rhino. He screamed and flew back more than 30 feet. He slammed hard into the cell wall and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Even his ribs caved in. There was a sound of gasping all around. Lin Kuang was one of the top fighters at the late gathering key stage. Yet Lin Fan took him out in a single slap. I coldly withdrew my hand, looking at Lin Kuang like he was trash. He's no longer Su Qing'an. I've completely emptied his mind, destroyed his appearance, and made him my exclusive blood oath for slaughter. What are you, to touch my spoils of war? This was a warning to Lin Kuang, and to Elder Lin Juyu as well. Lin Juyu's eye twitched fiercely, witnessing the power I displayed. His intent to kill me only increased, but at this moment he absolutely couldn't make a move. A prodigy who formed the legendary Killing Gods Dao Foundation. To the Lin family senior members. Enough. Lin Juyu took a deep breath. He forcefully suppressed his rage. He looked at me deeply and managed a twisted smile, uglier than crying. It was actually Kuang who was too reckless. Now that you've successfully formed your Dao Foundation, that is a great blessing to our Lin family. Take this oath and keep it with you. Train it well. At the family ancestral ceremony in 3 days, I look forward to your dazzling performance. With those words, he whipped his robe, dragging off the battered Lin Kuang like a dead dog, and left the cell in humiliation. As I watched their retreating backs, a cold glint flickered in my eyes. The ancestral ceremony, I'm afraid it's a deadly banquet prepared especially for me. But what I like most is flipping the table. After everyone left, I took Su Qing'an with me, zigzagging back to my place in the Lin family compound. I pushed open the dilapidated wooden door. A thick, musty smell hit me in the face. Is this really a great family's, young master's residence? It's honestly worse than a pigsty. The walls let in wind from all sides. A rickety, hard wooden bed. Not even a decent teacup. Su Qing'an took off the heavy black iron mask. On that stunningly beautiful face was now only shock and heartbreak. She stared blankly at the miserable little courtyard, then glanced at the frayed edges of my washed-out clothes. She had thought, someone as ruthless and powerful as me would surely hold great power in the Lin family and live in luxury. But unexpectedly, in a family of wolves and tigers, I was living so miserably. These 18 years, I survived right here. Su Qing'an's voice choked with tears. His Tangshuan sect may have been destroyed, but before that, he was a peerless prodigy spoiled by all. But the man before her played the fool in this dark hellhole, enduring 18 years of humiliation and torment. It takes a terrifying will and fortitude to do that. I shrugged indifferently, pulled up a broken stool and sat down, and poured him a cup of plain water. Surviving is more important than anything. Isn't that right? Su Qing'an took the cup of rough tea with both hands, tears finally filling his eyes. All his past wariness and caution melted away in an instant. Suddenly his knees buckled, and he knelt flat on the floor before me. Su King-an thought he'd die for sure in this life. Young master, not only did you save my life, you gave me hope for revenge. From this day on, King-an is no longer Tangshuan sect's chief disciple, but simply your sword, by your side. Where your sword points, King-an will die 1,000 times, without regret. Seeing his determined and devoted eyes, even my heart was warmed. I reached out and helped him up. At the same time, a gentle wave of righteous true energy flowed along his arm and into his body, healing the meridians damaged by those heavy iron chains. A sword should never break in the mud. Don't worry, the blood debt of the Tangshuan sect. I'll help you collect it one by one. Su King-an, feeling that warm true energy inside, was stunned deep down. He was finally sure this man before him practiced not the Lin family's bloodthirsty arts, but the purest path of righteousness. After settling Su King-an, I changed into clean clothes and headed to the family's hall of offerings. According to Lin family rules, any clan member who breaks through to a new realm may go to the hall of offerings to receive valuable cultivation resources. I disguised myself as someone at the early gathering key stage and strode into the offerings hall's main doors. But as soon as I entered, I was greeted by a harsh, mocking laugh. Well, if it isn't Lin Fan, our Lin family's top loser. Did the sun rise in the west today? Did you come here to beg for alms? The speaker was Steward Fat Lin from the Hall of Offerings. This guy was obese with a greasy face, puffed up with arrogance. He often bullied clan members out of their resources, all because he was a distant relative of the elder. He bullied the old me more than anyone else. I gave him a cold look and threw a testing token representing the key gathering realm onto the table. I have broken through. Give me 3 bottles of spirit accumulation pills per the rules, and a low-grade profound tier artifact. Fatty Lin didn't even glance at the token. He sneered, then directly took a broken medicine bottle filled with black residue and threw it on the ground. Rules! My word is the law here. There are no spirit accumulation pills. Only this bottle of moldy waste key pills. There are no artifacts either. Only a rusty axe from the backyard for chopping wood. Take it or leave it. If you don't want it, get lost. Several branch disciples queuing nearby immediately burst into a fit of malicious laughter. He's just a waste who can't even manage a death row prison. And he still wants resources? Even the waste key pills are a waste on him. I looked at the broken medicine bottle on the ground. I didn't move, just quietly stared at Fatty Lin. Right then, the NATO small sword in my mind suddenly emitted a violent buzz. Ding, detected Deacon Lin Dafu, carrying the weight of 10 outer sect disciples' souls. Obsession resolution, publicly judge and execute the villain. Mission reward, fragment of the godly skill, heaven-slaying sword-drawing art. My eyes suddenly lit up. So this system can resolve obsessions not only by saving people, but also by gaining rewards through punishing evil and promoting good. This Fatty Lin embezzled pills daily and actually caused the deaths of 10 people. He truly deserves to die. Fatty Lin, are you sure you won't give them to me? I took a slow step forward. My voice was flat, without a hint of emotion. Fatty Lin felt his skin crawl under my calm gaze. But relying on the fact that this was the offering hall, he slammed the table. Erupting with the aura of the mid-key gathering realm, he shouted harshly, "What? A piece of trash like you wants to make a move? I'm simply not giving them to you today. What can you do to me?" Before he could finish his sentence, I joined my fingers like a blade, true essence surging wild. A brilliant sword key instantly sliced through the air, creating a sharp whistling sound. Asterisk squelch. A bloated arm flew into the air accompanied by a spray of blood. Fatty Lin's shrill scream instantly pierced the sky above the offering hall.
He clutched his severed arm,
drenched in cold sweat, rolling on the ground in agony. The entire offering hall instantly became deathly silent. Everyone's eyes widened, looking at me as if they were seeing a monster. He finished the offering hall, Deacon? The mid-key gathering realm Fatty Lin actually had his arm severed by Lin Fan in one move. I walked forward expressionlessly, stepped on Fatty Lin's chest, and looked down at him from above. This strike is for the disciples who died miserably while on outer sect missions. Because you embezzled their life-saving pills. Ding. Obsession resolution, 30%. Fatty Lin's face was twisted in pain. Yet he still roared hysterically. Lin Fan, are you crazy? I am the Great Elder's man. If you dare touch me, the Great Elder will definitely cut you into 1,000 pieces. Noisy, I uttered 2 cold words. I applied a slight pressure with my foot. With a crisp asterisk, crack asterisk, I directly broke several of his ribs. Grandpa, spare my life. I'll give them to you. I'll give them all. Fatty Lin finally collapsed. He felt the undisguised, tangible killing intent radiating from my body. That was the gaze of someone who had definitely crawled out of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. Trembling,
He used his remaining hand to pull a storage ring from his robe.
and handed it to me with shaking hands. I took the ring, scanned it with my divine sense, and good heavens, this fat pig had embezzled a lot. Inside were over 100 bottles of top-grade spirit accumulation pills, dozens of profound tier artifacts, and a large quantity of spirit stones. I tucked the ring away with satisfaction, then looked at Fatty Lin beneath my feet, and gave a slight smile. Thank you for your generosity. However, I'm taking your life as well. As soon as the words left my mouth, a sharp sword key burst from my fingertip once more, piercing directly through Fatty Lin's throat. Ding. Obsession resolution, 100%. Reward dispatched. Fragment of the godly skill. Heaven-slaying sword-drawing art. Boom. A profound and mysterious, martial memory instantly flooded into my mind. It was a move that required only one strike. A terrifying drawing art that could sever rivers and split mountains. Meanwhile, the other disciples in the offering hall had already wet their pants in fear, slumped on the ground, shivering uncontrollably. I turned and left, leaving behind only a back view that made everyone's skin crawl. After dealing with Fatty Lin, I didn't return to my courtyard immediately. Instead, I silently activated the stealth art I had just mastered and made my way forward, reaching the Cloud Secret Pavilion in the Lin family's back mountain. Because just now, my divine sense had captured an extremely unusual fluctuation. It was an unfamiliar aura, carrying a heavy scent of blood. Furthermore, its cultivation had reached the terrifying True Sea realm. Even the strongest person in the Lin family, the Great Elder, was only at the peak of the essence condensation realm. This aura definitely belonged to a powerful outsider. I held my breath completely, clinging like a gecko to the roof of the Cloud Secret Pavilion. I carefully lifted a roof tile. Inside the pavilion, candlelight flickered. The Great Elder, Lin Juyu, was currently kneeling on the floor in a most humble manner. In front of him, on a grand armchair, sat a mysterious person wearing a purple python robe and an Asura mask. Lord Envoy. Lin Juyu's voice was filled with extreme reverence. After the profound sky sect was annihilated, the survivor named Su Qing'an was accidentally killed by me. But please rest assured, my lord, regarding the key to open the northern dragon vein, I have found a new lead. The purple-robed envoy gave a cold snort, fiddling with 2 walnuts in his hand. His voice was hoarse like a night owl's. Lin Juyu, you're becoming less and less reliable. The master spent so much manpower and resources to destroy the profound sky sect through your Lin family's hands, all for that key to the dragon vein. Now that the trail is cold, do you know your crime? Lin Juyu trembled in fear and quickly kowtowed. Please calm your anger, my lord. I have found an even better substitute. A once-in-a-century genius has appeared in the Lin family, named Lin Fan. Today he actually successfully condensed the long-lost killing god Dao seed. The purple-robed envoy's hand suddenly paused, crushing the walnuts into powder. Killing god Dao seed? Interesting. The demonic art our ancestor cultivates requires exactly this kind of extreme malevolent key as a vessel. In that case, At the Lin family's ancestor worship ceremony in 3 days, this seat will personally make an appearance. If he has truly condensed the killing god Dao seed, I will take him back to the holy sect, extract his bones and veins, and use his blood to forcibly open the northern dragon vein. Lying on the roof, I heard this conversation, and my gaze instantly turned ice cold. What a series of poisonous schemes! Such a ruthless mastermind. So the extermination of the Tangshuan sect had nothing to do with some battle between good and evil. It was because they had guarded the northernmost treasury for generations. Hidden there was a world-shaking dragon vein. And now these old dogs actually have their sights set on me. They even want to extract my bones, take my veins. A cruel smile curled at the corner of my mouth. Deep in my eyes, the terrifying power of the true Sea Realm's peak was surging madly. 3 days from now, at the ancestral ceremony, you want to use me as a furnace, right? Fine, I'd like to see. Who will be extracting whose bones then? Whose veins will be taken? Silently, I put the rubble back together. With a flash, I melted into the endless night. A storm big enough to overturn the entire Ling family, and even shake half the cultivation world, was slowly forming in my mind. When I returned to my dilapidated little courtyard, the night was as deep and dark as water. I pushed open the barely standing wooden gate, and saw Su Qing'an sitting cross-legged under the moonlight. Though dressed in coarse linen clothes, that cool, ethereal aura couldn't be hidden, nor could the otherworldly sword intent. When he saw me return, he immediately stood up. There was a barely noticeable trace of worry in his eyes. "Young master, where did you go?" There was such a commotion at the ancestral hall. The whole Lin family is on lockdown now. I chuckled lightly and waved my hand indifferently. I immediately tossed over the storage ring full of resources, throwing it to him. "Just a little trouble, that's all. Eat all the spirit-gathering pills inside. For the next 3 days, I want you to force your cultivation back to the core formation realm." Su Qing'an instinctively caught the ring, swept it with his spiritual sense, and instantly froze on the spot. He took a sharp breath. This is Steward Fatty Lin's entire fortune. "Young master, for my sake, you went as far as to rob the Hall of Offerings." His eyes turned red again.
He imagined a touching drama where I,
For his sake, did not hesitate to oppose the entire family. I was too lazy to explain. I simply reached out a finger and pressed it against the center of his brow. Boom! The heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique from the system. The remnant piece turned into countless golden runes, and was directly branded into the depths of his sea of consciousness. Su Qing'an felt as if struck by lightning, his delicate body trembling violently, sensing that terrifying sword intent, as if it could sever the galaxy itself. The way he looked at me
had changed from gratitude to deep awe and fanaticism.
"Young master, such a supreme sword technique that seizes the creation of heaven and earth. And you would just pass it to me so easily." I stood with my hands behind my back, looking up at the waning moon in the night sky. My voice was calm, yet it carried an endless aura of dominance. "It's merely a remnant piece. What is there to regret? The family's ancestral sacrifice ceremony in 3 days will be quite a grand show. I want you to use this sword technique to rightfully cut off your enemy's head and collect some interest for the fallen spirits of the heavenly profound sect." Su Qing'an knelt on one knee, the long sword in his hand letting out a high-pitched hum. "Qing'an will definitely not fail the mission." In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. The Yanlu Square at the Lin family's ancestral land. Today, the Lin family was decorated with lanterns and streamers. The place was bustling with noise. On the towering ancestral sacrifice platform, talented disciples from various branches and the inner gate of the Lin family gathered together. The great elder Lin Ju sat beside the main seat, his face glowing with pride. But the one truly sitting in the central main seat was actually that purple-robed special envoy wearing a Shura mask. Around the entire square, exactly 300 fully armed Lin family secret guards were stationed. On the surface, they were there to maintain order, But in reality, it was an iron barrel formation filled with killing intent. I brought Su Qing'an, who was wearing a black iron mask, and stepping to the rhythmic tolling of the ceremony's opening bell, we walked unhurriedly into the square. The originally noisy square, at the moment they saw me appear, instantly fell silent. Countless gazes converged on me all at once, some with jealousy, some with mockery, and some with fear. That's the trash Lin Fan who awakened the God of Slaughter Foundation. I heard that to monopolize that bloodstone. He even injured young Master Lin Kuang. I think he just got lucky. Today, on this ancestral platform, we talk with real swords and spears. Hearing the whispers around me, I turned a deaf ear. I walked straight to the center of the square. Just then, a furious roar filled with malice exploded from the high platform. Lin Fan, you bastard. You actually dared to come. Before the voice faded, a burly figure descended from the sky like a cannonball, smashing heavily in front of me, causing the ground to crack inch by inch. It was my cousin who had been slapped away by me 3 days ago, Lin Kuang. However, at this moment, Lin Kuang was not only fully healed, but his entire body erupted with an extremely violent aura. Early stage of the spirit origin realm. He had actually, in just 3 short days, crossed a major cultivation realm. I keenly noticed his bloodshot eyes and his unstable aura. Clearly, he had taken some demonic forbiddance drug that extremely overdraws one's potential. Lin Kuang drew the blood-red ghost head saber from his back, pointing the tip of the blade directly at my nose, laughing maniacally. Lin Fan, at today's ancestral sacrifice ceremony, according to the rules, the younger generation must spar on the arena. Today I'm going to, in front of the whole clan, crush the bones in your body inch by inch. I'll make that blood servant of yours kneel and lick my shoes. On the high platform, Lin Jiu stroked his beard and sneered. The purple-robed special envoy looked down at this scene with great interest, seemingly waiting for me to reveal that so-called God of Slaughter Foundation. I looked at Lin Kuang, who was like a jumping clown, without even lifting an eyelid, only faintly spitting out 3 words. Are you worthy? Lin Kuang was furious, his true essence circulating wildly. You're looking for death.
He raised the ghost head saber high,
bringing with it a gust of bloody wind, slashing directly down towards my face. Just when everyone thought I would be forced to make a move, I took a slight step back, my voice cold as ice. Qing'an, teach him what rules are. Asterisk whoosh. Asterisk Su Qing'an, who had been standing silently behind me, moved instantly. Without a hint of hesitation, and without any flashy moves, his right hand suddenly gripped the hilt at his waist. Heaven-slaying sword-drawing technique. Asterisk buzz. Asterisk a streak of golden sword light so dazzling that no one could keep their eyes open, surged forward, was like a thunderclap on flat ground, instantly tearing through the void. That terrifying sword intent of righteousness that obliterates everything made the swords of everyone present let out a mournful cry, trembling madly. Asterisk squelch, crack. No one could even see the trajectory of that strike. The earth-grade upper-rank ghost head saber in Lin Kuang's hand was like it was made of tofu, split into 2 from the middle. Following that, the golden sword energy, its power undiminished, directly severed both of Lin Kuang's arms and pierced through his Danshan sea of qi. Ah! Lin Kuang let out a pig-like scream, flying backward like a kite with its string cut, smashing heavily against the stone pillar of the ancestral platform, spitting blood wildly. He was completely crippled. The entire field was deathly silent. One could hear a pin drop. Everyone looked as if they had seen a ghost at that masked blood servant. One sword, just one move of the sword-drawing technique, and he had instantly killed Lin Kuang, who had taken forbiddance drugs, and reached the early stage of the condensing origin realm. What kind of divine weapon is this? If a mere maid is this strong, then how monstrous must the master Lin Fan be? On the high platform, Lin Jiu's eyes were nearly splitting with rage. He suddenly stood up. He never expected that the nephew he spent a huge price to nurture wouldn't even touch a single hair of mine before being crippled. Lin Fan, you allow your murderous subordinate to harm your own kin. This is simply treasonous. Unpardonable. Secret guards, take the order. Capture this wicked obstacle for me. Lin Jiu completely tore off his disguise, roaring sharply. Asterisk clatter. Asterisk 300. Lin family secret guards instantly drew their weapons, surrounding me and Su Qingyan completely. Killing intent soared to the sky. Facing such a desperate situation, I couldn't help but laugh. The laughter was like thunder from the 9 underworlds, intimidating the whole field. Lin Ji, you old dog, you've been a dog for so long that you've forgotten your own last name, haven't you? I suddenly raised my hand, pointing at that purple-robed special envoy sitting in the main seat. My voice, like a great bronze bell, spread throughout the entire Lin family. Fellow clansmen, open your eyes and take a good look. The one sitting in front of our Lin family ancestors' tablets. Just what kind of thing is that? Our great elder, in order to please an external enemy, did not hesitate to sell out the family's interests, willingly becoming someone's lapdog. Today's ancestral sacrifice ceremony is not for honoring our ancestors at all, but is this old dog's attempt to strip my bones and sell me, offering me as a tribute to this demon. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire field was in an uproar. All the Lin family disciples looked at the great elder in shock, and then looked at that mysterious purple-robed person who remained silent throughout. Seeing his conspiracy exposed in public, Lin Jiyu's old face twisted to the extreme. He roared in exasperation. Do not listen to this little beast's nonsense. The special envoy is an immortal from a supreme sect. To be favored by him is a blessing our Lin family has earned over 8 lifetimes. Kill him. The 300 secret guards received the death order. No longer hesitating, they charged at me like a black tide. An immortal, just from this rat hiding its head and tail? My gaze suddenly turned cold. The game is over. I'm not pretending anymore. Asterisk boom. Asterisk, a terrifying aura that had been suppressed to the limit finally erupted from my body without reservation. The pressure of the great perfection of the deep sea realm, like a 10,000-foot divine mountain, smashed heavily onto the entire Yanwu square. Asterisk crack, crack. The hard bluestone ground shattered inch by inch. Those 300 spirit origin realm secret guards who had rushed up, before this power that felt like heavenly wrath, didn't even have time to scream. Directly by the terrifying pressure, their knees were crushed. They all knelt on the ground in unison, spitting blood wildly. DD Deep Sea Realm Great Perfection? Impossible! This is absolutely impossible! Lin Jiu was shaken backward by this aura, collapsing into his chair. His cloudy eyes were filled with endless fear and despair. 18 years old, 18, an 8-year-old at the great perfection of the true sea realm. Forget the Lin family. Even in the entire history of the great desolate empire, there has never been such a person. This is no trash. This is a goddamn deity descended to earth. The purple-robed envoy, who had been sitting high in the main seat, could finally no longer maintain his composure. He suddenly stood up, and the eyes beneath his Shura mask erupted with a gaze of extreme greed. Such a peerless monster, who actually knows a heaven-defying secret technique to hide his cultivation. It seems the secrets you carry are even more valuable than that northern dragon vein. The purple-robed envoy's hands suddenly formed a seal, and a sinister demonic aura of the early true sea realms soared into the sky, transforming into a massive skeletal palm of black flames. With a whistling foul wind, it clawed directly toward me. Kid, obediently follow me back to the Saint Sect to meet your death. Looking at that sky-blotting black demonic hand, a smirk of utter contempt curled at the corner of my mouth. An early true sea realm dares to bluster in front of me? Today I'll use your dog life to sacrifice to my sword. I didn't even draw my sword. I brought my fingers together into a sword gesture, with a half-fathom-long golden sword light flickering at my fingertips. With a single thought, Speedily Awakening. 50 years of Sword Dao insights, perfectly fused with the spiritual power of the true sea realm's great perfection. A single finger stroke cut through the heavens, becoming 100-fathom-long golden river of swords. Like the celestial river of the 9 heavens pouring down, it instantly split heaven and earth apart. That aggressive skeletal palm of black flames. The moment it touched the river of swords was like ice meeting a scorching sun. It didn't even last for a second, before instantly evaporating without a trace. What? The purple-robed envoy let out the final terrified scream of his life. He desperately tried to activate his protective treasure to flee, but it was too late. That brilliant river of swords, with an invincible posture that crushed everything in its path, instantly swept through his body. Asterisk bang asterisk. The Shura mask on the purple-robed envoy's face split down the middle, and a fine line of blood appeared at his brow. Then the bloodline rapidly expanded. Before the entire field, under the extremely terrified gazes of thousands of people, this high and mighty arrogant saint sect envoy's body violently exploded, becoming a cloud of blood. Soul and spirit utterly destroyed. One strike. Just one strike. Spanning across the void, instantly killing an expert of the same realm. This is the terror of 50 years of an ancient sword immortal's cultivation. The entire square was as deathly silent as a Shura hell. Lin Juyu looked at the flesh and blood scattered everywhere, and went completely insane. He pointed at me, his voice trembling beyond recognition. You killed the Saint Sect envoy. You've brought upon a catastrophic disaster. The Saint Sect leader will not let you off. Our entire Lin family will be buried with you. I slowly withdrew my finger, my white robes fluttering, looking like a banished immortal descending to the mortal world. I walked step by step onto the high platform, looking down at the collapsed Lin Jiuyu. From today onward, I am the one who calls the shots in the Lin family. As for that Saint Sect you mentioned, I turned my head, looking toward the distant northern horizon, a surging battle intent igniting in my eyes. If they dare to come, I will wipe out their entire lineage with a single sword stroke. Just then, from the mess of flesh where the purple-robed envoy had exploded, a black jade talisman suddenly erupted with a blinding red light. Following that, the red light soared into the sky, transforming in mid-air into an incredibly massive, sky-blotting, majestic face. The eyes of that face were like abysses, exuding a terrifying pressure that far surpassed the true sea realm, firmly locking onto Su Qingyan and me, who killed my sex envoy and stole my northern dragon vein. The perpetrator's entire clan shall be executed. That voice was like rolling heavenly thunder, shaking all the Lin family members present until they bled from their 7 orifices, fainting on the spot. I stood protectively in front of Su Qingyan, looking at that arrogant face, the corner of my mouth curling into a defiant arc. So after the small one is beaten, the old one really does show up. The old one is good too. My sword hasn't drunk enough blood yet. Old man, remember this. The man who killed your envoy is named Lin Fan. Wash your neck and wait for me. You don't need to come looking for me. The northern dragon vein. I will personally come to take it. After saying that, I backhanded a sword strike, directly, shattering that formation projection in midair into powder. The sky returned to clarity, and a magnificent 3,000-mile-long drama of revenge and counterattack had only just begun. Watching that massive face slowly dissipate in the horizon, the entire Ling family square remained in a deathly silence, where even a needle dropping on the ground could be heard. I slowly withdrew the sword light from my fingertips, and my cold gaze fell upon that great elder who was now as limp as mud, Lin Jiuyu. The Lin Jiuyu of this moment no longer had any of the great elder's prestige. He was like a mangy dog with its spine removed, frantically kowtowing to me, making the bluestone floor thud loudly. Fanner! Clan leader! Clan leader Lin Fan. I was possessed. I've become a muddled old fool. I beg you, for the sake of our shared ancestry, spare this old dog's life. I am willing to hand over all the keys to the Lin family's treasury and serve you like an ox or a horse from now on. Looking at his sickening face, not a single shred of pity rose in my heart. Shared ancestry? I let out a cold laugh, a flicker of extreme disgust flashing in my eyes. When you were currying favor with foreign enemies, and didn't hesitate to sacrifice your own clansmen as cultivation vessels, did you ever think of our shared ancestry? When you were secretly embezzling the life-saving pills of outer disciples, and causing the deaths of countless heroic souls, did you ever think of it? The bloody courage built by generations of the Lin family has been completely squandered by spineless cowards like you. I didn't give him any further chance to beg for mercy. I raised my leg and slammed my foot onto his dantian. Asterisk puff. Asterisk Lin Juyu spat out a mouthful of black blood. His cultivation at the great perfection of the core condensation realm was like fragile glass under my foot, instantly shattered into pieces. Ah, my cultivation! You've destroyed my cultivation. Lin Juyu let out a scream like a slaughtered pig, rolling in pain on the ground. Killing you would only dirty my sword. I turned around and looked at the surroundings. To those Lin family guards and elders who were already scared witless, my voice spread through the field like a freezing winter wind. From this day forward, the Lin family will undergo a complete lockdown and rectification. If anyone dares to collude with foreign enemies to harm fellow members again, Lin Juyu will be your example. Throw him into the death cell, and let him taste the agony of soul-draining and bone-corroding. Several branch disciples who were usually bullied now had a look of fanatical worship in their eyes. They immediately rushed forward, dragging Lin Juyu away like a dead dog. Asterisk ding. Asterisk family corruption detected. Resentment cleared. Obsession resolved 100%. Reward issued. Ancient sword, Immortal sword flight art. Golden light earth shrinking step. Reward issued. Top-tier concealment treasures. 2000 delusion Jaluo masks. Feeling the surge of vast memories in my mind again, I nodded with satisfaction. With this kind of divine sword technique and concealment treasures, the journey to the northern lands would undoubtedly have more assurance. At the highest point of the Lin family's back mountain, the mountain wind whistled. I stood side by side with Su Qing'an, looking down at the lights of the myriad homes. Su Qing'an had changed into a simple and elegant outfit. Though she wore no makeup, she was beautiful enough to make it hard to look away. But at this moment, she was tightly clutching a broken section of a jade flute, and the tears at the corners of her eyes glimmered with a sorrowful light under the moon. Young master, this jade flute is the only relic left by my master. Su Qing'an's voice trembled slightly, filled with a heartbreaking desolation. That day, the great formation of the heavenly profound sect was breached. Master could have escaped alone, but to cover for me while I escaped with the northern dragon vein pulse, he dragged his heavily injured body, with one man and one sword, and single-handedly blocked the Saint Sect's siege of 3 true Sea Realm experts. When he died in battle, there wasn't a single patch of intact skin on his body. Yet he still stood firmly before the sect gate, never retreating even half a step. Speaking up to this point, this peerless genius, who was strong enough not to even groan, under the torture of the death cell, finally couldn't help but crouch down, covering her face and sobbing uncontrollably. The suppressed crying was like a cuckoo weeping blood, making one's heart ache. I looked at her quietly. I didn't say any hollow words of comfort, but simply walked silently to her side, and gently draped a thick cloak over her shoulders. Qing'an, look at me. Looking deeply towards the far north, with a low voice, yet heavy as Mount Tai, the dead are gone, but the living must move on. This blood debt, the Tangshuan sect can never repay. I, Lin Fan, will settle it. The Saint sect owes you your lives, and I will have the heads of their entire sect to pay for it. Starting tomorrow, we set out for the far north. Su Qing'an raised her tear-stained face, looked at my resolute profile, wiped her tears away forcefully, and nodded heavily. Fine. Qing'an is willing to become the sharpest sword in your hand, young master, to shatter all the injustice in this world. The next morning, we put on the 1,000 illusion Gallo masks rewarded by the system. This mask is extremely miraculous. Once worn, it not only perfectly changes one's appearance, but even bone age and aura can be completely disguised. I disguised myself as a sallow-faced, feeble, and sickly scholar. As for Su Qing'an, she disguised herself as a plain-looking maid in gray clothes. After all, our current identities are too sensitive. The Saint Sex wanted posters have likely been spread throughout the entire great desolate empire. Before figuring out the Saint Sex true foundation, playing the tiger while looking like a sheep and making a fortune in silence is the way to go. Half a month later, at Tianfeng City, the border between the great desolate empire and the far north. This is the mandatory path to the northern dragon vein. Yellow sand fills the sky. A mix of dragons and fish. Cultivators from all walks of life gather here. Just as we reached the city gate, I keenly sensed that something was wrong. An extremely strict checkpoint had been set up at the gate. 2 rows of cultivators in blood-red robes, holding wicked greatswords, were inspecting passing pedestrians one by one. On the city wall, portraits of Su Qing'an and me were prominently posted. People from the Bloodblade sect. Su Qing'an followed behind me and said in a low voice, "Young master, the Bloodblade sect is the most notorious demonic sect within this 800-mile radius. Their sect master, Zhu Tu, is a ruthless expert in the mid-stage of the True Sea realm. Looking at this setup, they've already become the Saint Sex lapdogs, blocking us here." I pretended to be frail and weak, covered my mouth and coughed twice, but a playful, cold smile curled at the corner of my lips. I'm not afraid of a dog blocking the path. I'm only afraid the dog won't bite. Let's go, we'll meet them. We blended into the crowd, moving forward slowly. Soon, it was our turn. A Bloodblade sect guard with a fleshy face used his lecherous triangular eyes to size up Su Qing'an, who was disguised as a maid. Even though Su Qing'an's current appearance was ordinary, that cold and ethereal unique temperament still made it hard for people to look away. The guard swallowed his saliva, reached out to grab Su Qing'an's shoulder. "Stop, you two look suspicious to me. This little wench looks familiar. She must be the fugitive on the poster. Follow me to the city lord's dungeon, strip off your clothes, and let me give you a good inspection." As soon as these words were spoken, the surrounding pedestrians showed sympathy, but dared not speak out. Everyone knew that entering the Bloodblade sect's dungeon was a fate worse than death. A flash of killing intent appeared in Su Qing'an's eyes. Just as she was about to draw her sword, I took a step ahead, pretending to be terrified, and blocked the way in front of Su Qing'an. Officer, please calm down. My maid has suffered from leprosy since childhood. It's contagious. We are just poor souls going to the far north to seek medical help. Here are 10 low-grade spirit stones. Consider it a treat for you, brothers, to buy some wine." While coughing, I tremblingly handed over a few low-quality spirit stones. When the guard heard leprosy, he got scared and quickly pulled back his hand. Then he looked at me, a sickly mess who didn't even have key-gathering cultivation, and immediately became furious. He slapped the stones out of my hand. "Bah, 10 broken stones. Are you dismissing a beggar? Today I'm not only taking this woman, but I'm also taking your life." Saying that, he drew the blood blade from his waist and swung it down right at my head. "You're courting death." Su Qing'an could no longer hold back, her hand on the hilt, ready to explode. "Sai, why are people always in such a hurry to be reincarnated?" I sighed helplessly. Facing the whistling blood blade, I didn't even dodge. Just as the blade's edge was less than an inch from my head buzz, the vast sea-like power of the true sea realm within me didn't even need to be intentionally released. Instinctively, a trace of the ultimate sword-bone astral key leaked out. Crack! That lower-grade mysterious deer blood blade struck my protective astral key, as if hitting 10,000-year-old profound iron. It instantly shattered into iron filings filling the air. Not only that, but that terrifying countershock force traveled through the hilt and instantly blasted into the guard's body, The guard didn't even have time to let out a scream before his arms exploded into blood mist. He was hit as if by a construction hammer, flying backward dozens of meters, smashing heavily into the city wall, becoming a pile of mush. An instant kill with one blow, without even moving a hand. The entire city gate fell into instant silence. All the pedestrians looked at me in absolute horror at this sickly person. The surrounding Blood Blade sect cultivators were stunned at first, then flew into a rage, drawing their weapons and surrounding us. What audacity! How dare you kill someone from my Blood Blade sect? Brothers, deploy the Blood Sea array. Chop him into mincemeat. In this tense moment of drawn swords, an extremely arrogant and overbearing voice suddenly thundered down from the top of the city wall. A bunch of useless trash. You can't even handle a sickly weakling. Let me cripple him. A blood-red figure descended from the sky, landing heavily in front of us. The ground instantly cracked into spider-web-like patterns. The newcomer wore a luxurious blood-colored robe, holding a top-grade spiritual blood moon scimitar, radiating the powerful aura of the peak condensation origin realm. It's the young master of the Blood Blade sect. Xu Li! Someone in the crowd let out a terrified whisper, and everyone retreated. Xu Li cracked his neck, making a sound like popping beans, looking at me with a face full of mockery. Kid, you've got some brute strength for a body cultivator. But in front of me, Xu Li, you're just a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Obediently break your own legs, and offer that woman behind you to be my cultivation vessel. This young master might just leave you an intact corpse. Looking at his arrogant face, I couldn't help but laugh. These brainless villains in the cultivation world are just like leeks. One crop after another is harvested. You want my legs? Fine. I slowly raised my right hand, putting my index and middle fingers together, casually catching a withered leaf falling in the wind. Let's see if you have the life to take them. As soon as the words fell, I flicked my fingertips suddenly. A soft, withered leaf, after being infused with that trace of extremely pure ancient sword intent, instantly transformed into the most terrifying divine weapon in the world. Whoosh! A golden streak of light instantly tore through the void. There was even a piercing sonic boom. The cruel smile at Shirley's lips hadn't faded yet. Her pupils contracted to the extreme in an instant. He instinctively tried to raise the blood blade, but it was too fast. The speed of that withered leaf had already surpassed the limits of his vision. As a crisp snap echoed, the treasured spiritual weapon in his hand, the blood blade, was unexpectedly pierced by a withered leaf, creating a smooth hole. Then, with a squelch, the leaf's remaining force didn't diminish. It directly pierced through Shirley's forehead. A burst of glaring blood followed. Ultimately, it lodged deep in the city wall behind him. Shirley's body suddenly froze. He widened his eyes, staring at me intensely. His lips trembled violently. It looked like he wanted to say something, but all he could do was spit out fresh blood mixed with fragments of his organs. Boom! The arrogant young master of the Blood Blade sect collapsed flat on the ground just like that. He died with his eyes open, killing with a flying leaf. A one-hit kill. The entire place was utterly plunged into unprecedented silence and fear. Everyone seemed to be turned to stone, even forgetting to breathe. A frail scholar used just one withered leaf to instantly kill the young master at the peak of the condensed Yuan realm. Is he even human? The young master is dead. Run. This kid is an old monster in sheep's clothing. The remaining Bloodblade sect guards were completely broken, abandoning their armor and helmets, scrambling and crawling desperately to escape. Did I ever let you go? My gaze turned cold, just about to begin the slaughter. Right at that moment, from the direction of the city lord's mansion, suddenly, an overwhelming, terrifying aura burst forth. A gigantic, blood-red, ominous cloud instantly shrouded the entire sky above Tianfeng City. Who is it? Who killed me? A roar filled with endless murderous intent and fury exploded across the sky like thunder. Mid-true sea stage, Bloodblade sect master, The blood disciple has arrived. Boom, a burly man built like an iron tower emerged surrounded by a rolling blood aura, stepped directly through the void, and landed heavily in front of the city gate. He saw the blood-soaked corpse on the ground. His eyes instantly turned blood red. Murderous intent from his entire body almost became tangible. "You little bastard, I'm going to skin you alive. Light the heavenly lanterns and roam free." The blood disciple let out a shrieking, rage-filled roar, pressed his palms together. Spirit power at the mid-true sea stage surged violently within him. Blood sea asura art, killing inner sword. The spiritual energy within a kilometer was instantly drained, turning into a surging ocean of blood, emitting a nauseating stench, crashing down over me from all sides. Faced with such a city-annihilating terror technique, Su Qing'an, disguised as a maid, could also feel immense pressure. Her pretty face turned pale, yet I still stood with my hands behind my back, not even bothering to remove my thousand delusion mask. Is the mid-true sea stage really that strong? I looked up slightly, with a gaze that radiated overwhelming arrogance. After 18 years of living in forced disguise, the fighting blood inside me finally boiled over completely at this moment. Open your dog eyes, old dog. See what true power really means. Boomai no longer hid. Inside me, that vast true sea like a universe of stars, erupted with a force 10 times more terrifying than the blood disciple. 100-fold pressure, like a dazzling golden sun, rose up right before Tianfeng City's gate. Break I uttered just one word. I didn't even lift a finger. The golden sword intent surged out like a tidal wave, sweeping forth like a tsunami. Bang, 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 bang. That rolling sea of blood, the moment it met my golden energy aura, vanished like melting snow in a blazing fire, easily evaporated, leaving nothing behind. Pua! The once overbearing blood disciple was struck like lightning and spat out a massive mouthful of blood. His body felt like it was hit by 100,000 mountains. Protective energy shattered instantly. Both kneecaps were crushed. He crashed to his knees before me with a thud, smashing a massive pit into the ground. Perfect true sea stage. Who the hell are you? The blood disciple was drenched in blood, feeling from me an aura, a supreme sword intent that made even his soul tremble. He was so terrified his heart almost stopped. Great wilderness dynasty. When did such a peerless young sword emperor appear? I walked slowly up to him, looking down at him from above. You want my life? You're not worthy. Now I ask you, did the saint sect post you here? And what are you searching for? The blood disciple felt the deadly sword energy flickering on my fingertip. All his arrogance and rage instantly became terrified. Please, please spare me. Senior, spare my life. I'll tell you everything. The blood disciple fumbled out a sheepskin scroll with trembling hands. A secret order from the saint sect emissary. There's a hidden immortal sword seed at the edge of the northernmost dragon vein. Apparently, rumor has it a primordial divine sword has appeared in the sword tomb. Saint Sun from the saint sect is personally leading a team to the sword tomb, trying to pull out the divine sword, to break through to the fabled divine power stage. They ordered us to guard the outer area, to prevent any outsiders from disturbing the swordmaster. When the Saint Sun hears this, my eyes gleamed suddenly. Primordial divine sword. Saint Sex Saint Sun. A chance to break through to divine power stage. Ding! Main storyline villain interception mission triggered. Mission objective. Head to the hidden immortal sword tomb to snatch the divine sword. Suppress the Saint sect. Saint Sun mission reward. Unlock primordial killing god domain. Sword Dao realm. Break through to divine power stage. That familiar system prompt echoed in my mind again. The corners of my mouth curled
into a crazed, excited grin.
I turned to Su Qing'an, my eyes burning with the fire of a mentor. Qing'an, did you hear that? The Saint Sex Saint Sun is holding a grand banquet ahead, getting ready to draw the sword. Su Qing, you know what I mean. A cold gleam flashed in her eyes, with a hint of vengeful delight as well. You mean, we're going to crash the party? I burst out laughing, snatched the sheepskin scroll from the blood disciple. Crashing a party is too minor, since the Saint sect destroyed your sect and took your dragon vein. Today I'll go and take the Saint Sun's opportunity and turn it upside down, along with all his people and his sword. Seeing the blood disciple still kneeling and bowing in terror, my smile became even colder. Good, you're very cooperative. The blood disciple seemed to feel saved. His bloodied face broke into a crazed, joyful smile. Thank you, Senior, for sparing my life. Thank you, who? He hadn't finished speaking when a slender but deadly golden sword energy pierced straight through his forehead without resistance. The crazed smile on the blood disciple's face froze instantly. He stared at me in disbelief, pointing a finger. You broke your word. I pulled out a white handkerchief and wiped my hands slowly, my tone as indifferent as squashing an ant. I only said you answer what I ask. When did I ever say that you'd live after answering? Bang! The blood disciple's huge body collapsed. This once dominant Bloodblade sect master was thoroughly destroyed, body and soul. I casually tossed the scroll to Su Qing'an. Qing'an, remove your mask, since we're going to crash the party. This sickly look doesn't suit the primordial divine sword we're about to claim. Su Qing'an was momentarily dazed. Then her eyes shone with excitement.
He reached out and took off the Thousand Illusion mask,
once again revealing that stunning, enchanted beauty. Cool and peerlessly graceful. I also removed my mask, revealing my own strikingly handsome face, with an aura of defiant charm. Let's go. At my mental command, I instantly activated the system's gifted soaring golden light. Whoosh! A blazing golden rainbow shot upward, rising from the ground, enveloping Su Qing'an and me completely, moving at a terrifying speed the naked eye could hardly follow, tearing through the clouds, racing straight for the hidden Immortal complex deep in the far northern lands, hidden Immortal sword tomb. This used to be a stretch of unending snowy mountains, but now the mountains for 100 miles around have been flattened by some terrifying power, forming a vast bottomless basin. Inside the basin, countless rusted, broken swords were stabbed into the ground.
each sword
emitted an ancient, chilling power, and at the very center of the sword tomb was a sword platform built from countless white bones, piled high. At the top of the platform, a divine sword shimmered with violet gold light, its entire body inscribed with mysterious runes. Even looking from a distance, the terrifying sword, intent as if it could cleave the heavens and stars, made tens of thousands of onlookers bleed from their eyes, and their souls tremble. Grand Void Heaven-slashing sword, primordial class divine weapon. At this moment, the entire sword tomb had already been surrounded by thousands of Saint Sect elites in platinum robes, completely locking it down. All the rogue cultivators and minor sects hoping for a share were thoroughly subdued by the elders of the Saint Sect. Through sheer force, anyone daring to cross the boundary was killed on the spot, no exceptions. No wonder the Saint Sect Saint Sun has such a reputation. Junwada rumor says he's born with the Great Sun's sacred body. Only 20 years old, and he's already reached perfect true sea stage. Look, he's already on the ancient platform, only 10 steps away from the divine sword. The outer cultivators, under that terrifying sword pressure, gazed at him on the platform with reverence. Jun Wudao, Saint Sect's top genius, draped in a golden robe, fluttering in the wind, radiated a blinding divine light like the scorching sun. With every step forward, the space around the platform twisted more violently. The Grand Void Heaven-slashing sword seemed to sense an intruder and erupted with wildly resisting energy, transforming into countless visible spatial tempests, madly shredding Jun Wudao's protective aura. A mere ownerless artifact dares defy this holy sun. How dare you go against me, the holy sun? Jun Wudao let out a cold snort. His eyes were filled with utter arrogance and superiority. In an instant, he bit his tongue fiercely. He spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Great Sun's sacred body. Suppress it for me. Boom! Behind him, a massive blazing sun apparition appeared. He forcefully withstood the endless sword energy. He stepped forward 5 more steps. He was now just 1 step away from the sword hilt. Congratulations, Holy Sun. Best wishes, Holy Sun. Once the Holy Sun draws the divine sword, he will surely break through his bottleneck and step into the realm of divine power in 1 move. From then on in the Great Wilderness Dynasty, The Holy Son will be the undisputed number one among the younger generation. Several elders of the holy sect standing on the perimeter, seeing this, immediately stroked their beards and burst into laughter. They began buttering up in advance. Jun Wodao's lips curled into a wild, self-satisfied grin. He slowly extended his right hand and gripped the hilt of the void heaven-slashing sword. Just as he was about to exert his strength, at the very instant he would draw the divine sword, number one under heaven. If you ask me, you're more like the world's number one jackass. A lazy yet endlessly mocking voice rang out, like a blast of thunder, completely without warning, echoing above everyone at the hidden Immortal Swordmaster arena. This sudden ridicule instantly plunged tens of thousands of people into dead silence. Everyone looked up at the sky in shock and terror. Are they insane? In the Great Wilderness Dynasty, someone actually dares insult the Holy Sect's Holy Son in public?
A jackass indeed. Even Jun Wudao himself on the ancient stage was dumbfounded.
The hand pulling the sword froze abruptly. His face instantly became extremely dark. Thunder rumbled across the sky's clouds, which were suddenly torn apart by a brutal force. A beam of dazzling golden light descended to the earth, crashing down like a meteorite, bringing with it a destructive might. It smashed down right in the center of the sword formation. Directly, it landed in the midst of the formation of elite holy sect disciples. Bang, 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 bang. A violent shockwave instantly made over 100 holy sect disciples around spew blood wildly, vomiting blood and flying backward. As the dust settled, Su Qing'an and I stood shoulder to shoulder, our figures appearing slowly before everyone in full view. I was clad in white, spotlessly clean, while Su Qing'an brandished a long sword, her aura fierce and cold. How dare you? Who dares disturb the Holy Son? Draw your sword. One of the holy sect elders guarding the perimeter gritted his teeth in rage. His early true sea realm cultivation burst forth with a roar. He pointed at me and shouted, "Kneel immediately. Abolish your cultivation yourself, or else I'll tear you apart." I didn't even bother to look at him straight on. With a casual wave of my right hand, slap, a loud, crisp slap echoed through the arena. That early True Sea Realm elder didn't even have time to activate his protective artifact when an invisible, terrifying force struck his cheek. Half his head caved in instantly from the blow. His whole body spun like a top, twirling over a dozen times in the air. Finally, like a dead dog, he crashed heavily at Jun Wudao's feet. He fainted on the spot. Hiss sounds of everyone gasping filled the arena. Countless cultivators' eyes nearly popped out. A slap through the air instantly killed an early True Sea Realm elder. Who is this white-robed youth? What kind of monster is he? On the stage with Su Qing'an, Jun Wudao finally recognized you beside me. His handsome face instantly turned twisted. You, the remnant of the heavenly profound sect, are still alive. So that means Ling Jiyu, that useless one, failed. And you were the ones who killed the envoy too. He suddenly turned to look at me, his gaze cold like a venomous snake. So you're the Ling clan's nobody. Who awakened the god of slaughter Dao Pulse? I put my hands in my sleeves and strolled slowly over the shattered swords on the ground, heading toward the stage. All the elders and disciples of the holy sect around were dying to hack me to pieces, but after that slap just now, not a single one dared step forward to block me. They all instinctively backed off and cleared a path. At least you're not completely brainless. I looked up at the aloof Jun Wudao and sneered. Now that you know it's me, aren't you going to roll down from there yourself? That sword is not something you can handle. Let me show you such extreme arrogance. Utterly domineering. The tens of thousands of watching cultivators felt their hearts skip a beat out of their chests. This Lin Fan really has no fear of death. That's the Holy Son we're talking about. Jun Wudao, ha ha ha. Jun Wudao laughed instead. His laughter was full of chilling, murderous intent. Good, very good. I thought drawing the sword would be boring, but I didn't expect such a fine furnace to walk right in. Lin Fan, Did you really think that just because you killed an envoy propped up by pills, you're qualified to bark in front of me? I am the great sun's sacred body, invincible among peers. Today I'll slice you down first, then draw this sword. Jun Wudao let go of the sword hilt, and a terrifying blaze exploded from his entire body. As he formed with his hands, a fiery sun sealed the size of a small mountain. Carrying the power to incinerate all things, he smashed it straight at my head. Great sun heaven-scorching seal. Die, faced with this blow strong enough to instantly kill a peak true sea realm. Cultivator, Su Qing'an nervously gripped her sword hilt. But I just stood there, not moving at all. I even yawned from boredom. Invincible among peers. Sorry, that's exactly the kind of opponent I love to destroy. Buzz. Just as the flaming sun seal was about to smash my head, several of my sword bones finally completely awakened. I didn't even use a shred of spiritual energy, relying only on the pressure of my sword bones. Suddenly, I looked up sharply, my eyes shooting out two solid golden sword beams. Shatter for me. There was no earth-shattering explosion, only the crisp sound of cloth being torn. That awe-inspiring great sun heaven-scorching seal was sliced neatly in half. As soon as it encountered the sword intent in my gaze, as if it were foam under a scorching sun, it instantly became firelight everywhere, disappearing into nothingness. Impossible! Jun Wudao's pupils shrank to the size of a needle's tip. His supposedly unbeatable killing move was broken in an instant by nothing but a glance. And not just him. Everyone at the scene felt their entire worldview collapse. A glance breaks 10,000 arts? What insane sword mastery is this? With skills like that, you dare try to draw the sword? I sneered coldly, and didn't slow my steps at all. I'd already reached the stairs of the ancient stage. Don't tell me you think I'll let you live? Jun Wudao finally lost control. He desperately burned his essence blood, trying to strike again. But at that moment, within me, the long-suppressed true intent of the heaven-slashing sword art resonated with the void heaven-slashing sword atop the ancient stage, creating a terrifying resonance. Buzz, buzz, buzz! The void heaven-slashing sword, which had resisted Jun Wudao until now, suddenly let out a joyful, ferocious sword cry. In the next moment, an overwhelming sword intent strong enough to crush the void exploded from the divine sword, locking directly onto Jun Wudao on the stage. Bang! Jun Wudao hadn't even had time to strike when this repelling force from the divine sword itself slammed hard into his chest. Bleg, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His whole body collapsed like a broken spine, rolling straight off the high stage.
He landed miserably at my feet.
The entire arena fell into absolute silence once again. The lofty holy son of the holy sect didn't even force Lin Fan to make a real move, and was sent flying by the divine sword's backlash instead. I looked down at Jun Wudao, who was coughing blood madly at my feet. I lifted my foot mercilessly and stomped it on his once handsome proud face, grinding it in hard. Who were you saying you killed just now? Lin Fan, I want you dead. My holy sect will never let you off. Jun Wudao struggled in humiliation and rage, only to find my foot on his face was like a divine mountain, pinning him completely immobile. I couldn't be bothered with his useless fury, so I looked up at the peak of the ancient stage, at the void heaven-slashing sword. Sacred objects possess spiritual awareness. It's calling for me. Qing'an, keep an eye on this mutt, and watch me claim the sword. I stepped forward, completely ignoring the terrifying sword pressure that even Jun Wudao couldn't withstand on the ancient stage. I strolled up to the divine sword as if out for a walk. I reached out my right hand and firmly grasped the hilt, ready to slay traitors. The ultimate sword bone and the Tixu heaven-slaying sword have perfectly fused. Ding, interception successful. Task rewards are being distributed. Congratulations to the host for unlocking the ancient killing god domain. Congratulations to the host for breaking through to the early stage of the divine power realm. Rumble, the heavens and earth change color. A massive, thick golden pillar of light, soars directly into the sky from my body, shattering the 9 days of overcast rain. The spiritual energy of the entire far north, at this moment frantically pours back toward me. I hold the Taiksu heaven-slaying sword, feeling the vast divine power within my body, newly opened and as immense as a dwelling for the gods. I look up at the sky and let out a wild laugh. Sword, come. I easily pull out the Taiksu heaven-slaying sword. A purple sword light traversing heaven and earth instantly sweeps across a 100-mile radius. A dozen broken snow-capped mountains in the distance, under this sword light, have their peaks silently leveled. One strike to split the heavens. Lin Fan, a sword emperor of the divine power realm, has arrived. Feeling the cheers and submission, coming from the Taiksu heaven-slaying sword in my hand, the wild laugh at the corner of my mouth can no longer be suppressed. The power of the divine power realm is like a vast ocean, surging through my limbs and bones. It is a feeling of absolute dominance, where every gesture could tear the firmament. And at my feet, the once unbeatable Saint Sect's holy son, Jun Wudao, at this moment, is like a mangy dog with its spine ripped out, slumped limply on the white-boned sword platform, face covered in blood. The great sun holy body he was so proud of has long since cracked inch by inch under the pressure of the divine sword's emergence. Impossible! This is absolutely impossible! Junodao's eyes are hollow, staring dead set at me, and at the divine sword in my hand, glowing with purple gold light.
He keeps vomiting out of his mouth.
Black blood mixed with fragments of internal organs. I am the child of destiny. How could I lose to a piece of trash like you from a neighboring family? What kind of sorcery did you use? Give me back my divine sword. Give me back my opportunity. He crawls on the ground like a madman, trying to reach out and grab my sword. I sneer, with not a trace of pity in my eyes. I lift my foot and ruthlessly step on the back of his hand. Accompanied by the toothacheing sound of bone cracking, Jun Wudao lets out a scream like a slaughtered pig. Child of destiny? A greenhouse flower like you, built up by consuming pills, is worthy of being called the child of destiny? I look down on him from above, my voice like the biting wind of winter. Using the blood debt of wiping out the entire Tangshuan sect, to fulfill your own personal opportunity, you, the so-called holy son of the righteous path, are even more disgusting than a butcher like me from the Lin family. Today I shall destroy your bullshit holy body. Consider it as collecting a bit of interest for the departed spirits of the Tangshuan sect. Saying that, I hesitate not to lift the Taiksu heaven-slaying sword, the blade pointing directly at Jun Wudao's Danshan Sea of Qi. Insolent brat, how dare you? Stop! Don't you dare hurt our sect's holy son! Just at this critical moment, the group of Saint Sect elders who were scared witless earlier finally snapped back to their senses. A total of 8 old monsters in the late stage of the True Sea realm, their eyes nearly bursting with rage. Their bodies erupt with terrifying flames of burning essence blood, like 8 falling meteors, pouncing toward me frantically from all directions. Kid, put down the divine sword. Surrender with your hands behind your back. Otherwise, we will grind your bones to ash. Listening to the repetitive lines of these old dogs, I helplessly pick my ear. Why is it that every time you villains go to your deaths, you don't even know how to change your lines? Do you really think numbers can make a difference? I don't even turn my head, simply swinging the Taiksu heaven-slaying sword backward casually. 1,000-foot-long purple gold sword light instantly tears through the void. That is no ordinary sword ki, but the absolute destructive power of the divine power realm laws, mixed with the ancient killing god domain. Before this sword light, time seems to have come to a standstill. Those 8 aggressive Saint Sect elders, the ferocity on their faces instantly freezes. They didn't even have time to let out a scream before they, along with the top-tier artifacts in their hands, within that brilliant sword light, like remnant snow under a blazing sun, instantly vaporized without a trace. One strike and 8 late-stage True Sea realm experts are obliterated. Around the entire perimeter of the fallen immortal sword tomb, tens of thousands of spectating cultivators are also terrified that they collapse to the ground, even forgetting to breathe. On the platform, Jun Wudao witnessed this scene personally. The last flicker of hope in his eyes completely collapsed, turning into endless despair and fear. "Don't kill me. I beg you, don't kill me. As long as you spare me, I can make you the vice sect master of the Saint sect." Jun Wudao kowtows frantically, tears mixed with snot covering his face. Looking at his spineless appearance, extreme disgust flashes in the depths of my eyes. "Keep your life, to kowtow and apologize to the people of the Tangshuan sect in the underworld." With a flick of my wrist, the sword blade instantly pierces through his dantian. The origin power of the Great Sun holy body collapses frantically like a deflated balloon. Jun Wudao's entire body jerks violently, his head slumps to the side, and he has completely become an unconscious cripple. "King En, this dog's life is left for you to take personally." I turn my head, looking at Su Qingyan, who is standing not far away, her face already covered in tears. Su Qingyan grips the long sword in her hand, walking toward Jun Wudao step by step. She looks at this enemy who was once high and mighty, but is now like rotten mud, the hatred in her eyes turning into a decisive sword light. "Master, senior brothers, junior sisters, today King En finally kills the main enemy for you." Squelch, the sword falls. Jun Wudao's gray head rolls down. A generation's genius of the Saint sect falls here. Detection complete. Su Qingyan's revenge obsession resolution has significantly increased. System reward settlement in progress. Reward the host with the great perfection of Taixu sword intent. However, the moment Jun Wudao's head hit the ground, what gushed out of his neck was not blood, but an extremely eerie dark red black mist. This black mist instantly bored into the white bone sword platform below. Immediately after, the entire fallen immortal sword tomb suddenly erupted in an extremely violent earthquake. Rumble, the originally flat snow mountain basin, unexpectedly begins to collapse frantically. The earth splits open into a bottomless, terrifying abyss. An ancient, sinister aura, 100 times, 1,000 times stronger than before, soars into the sky from the bottom of the abyss like a volcanic eruption. Those rogue cultivators closer to the abyss didn't even have time to scream before being tainted by this black mist, instantly turning into pale white skeletons. Not good, this brat was a decoy. My eyes narrow, and I realize instantly, this Taixu heaven-slaying sword was not some opportunity waiting to be unearthed, but a sealing key used to suppress something horrific deep underground. Now that the sword has been pulled out by me, the seal is completely broken. The earth's collapse is getting faster and faster. Tens of thousands of remnant swords, along with the rubble, fall into that endless darkness. "Young master, be careful." The ground beneath Su Qingyan's feet instantly collapses, and she falls toward the abyss uncontrollably. I didn't even think about it. My body moved as fast as lightning. I dove down fiercely, and in midair, grabbed her slender waist tightly. In the depths of the abyss, the gale was like countless invisible blades, madly shredding everything. Even a cultivator at the true sea stage would be instantly shredded to a pulp here. I immediately released my body protection true key at the divine prodigy stage, holding Su Qingyan tightly in my arms. A harsh cutting sound kept ringing against the true key barrier. Even my body, reinforced by several sword bones, was shaken so much my blood surged. Su Qingyan nestled in my arms, her face pale. She looked at the blood trickling from the corner of my mouth as I protected her. Her eyes instantly turned red. "Young master, let go of me. The gales in this buried dragon abyss are too fierce. You'll get dragged down with me like this." She struggled, trying to push me away, with a look of determination in her eyes. I glared at her in annoyance, and just held her even tighter. "Shut up. It took me so much effort to raise you into a top-tier swordsman. Now you want me to throw you away. Wouldn't that be a huge loss for me? If you keep squirming, I'll spank you." Hearing these slightly domineering words, Ju Qingyan's pretty face turned bright red. She obediently shrank into my arms, not daring to move anymore. Yet in those clear, cold eyes of hers, my determined face was reflected at this moment. Deep in her eyes, a touch of never-before-seen emotion flashed by. After falling for half an hour, the gales around us finally began to subside. Bang we, heavily, smashed against a hard black opening. I let out a muffled grunt. Shang brushed the dust off his body. He pulled Su Qing'an up to stand. Looking around, we saw a vast and boundless world spread out before us. There was no sun or moon in the sky, only swirling thick miasma. On the ground, enormous, mysterious beasts lay scattered everywhere. Every single bone emitted an intimidating and chilling pressure. Is this truly the legendary hidden dragon abyss? Su Qing'an gasped sharply. She gripped her sword tightly. Legend has it that before the Great Wilderness Dynasty was founded, this was the place where the ancient dragon clan fell. Countless unspeakable horrors are buried here. I squinted my eyes slightly. My vast divine sense instantly swept outward. Suddenly I froze. Because less than 10 miles ahead of us, amid the snowy swirling miasma, there was the faint glow of a dim lantern. In this ancient forbidden land that has been silent for millions of years, there was actually a light. Let's go check it out. Stay close. I gripped the Taixu heaven-slaying sword tightly. I compressed the ancient killing god domain within 3 feet around me. Taking Su Qing'an with me, I carefully headed towards the direction of the light. As we drew closer, the full form of the light finally appeared before our eyes. It was actually a dilapidated wooden inn. The inn looked ready to collapse in the howling wind. On its broken signboard, in dark red cinnabar, 3 large words were written, Wind and Snow Inn. The scene was unspeakably eerie. Like opening a milk tea shop next to the oil cauldrons of the 18th level of hell. Totally out of place. I shot Su Qing'an a warning look, then kicked open the rickety inn's drafty wooden door. A harsh scraping sound accompanied the action. The view inside the inn came into sight. There were no monsters or demons as I had imagined, nor any kind of ambush. Only an old man in a tattered sheepskin coat, his eyes blinded, sat at a broken wooden table in the middle of the hall, quietly carving a piece of wood with a rusty engraving knife. The inn was bone-chilling cold. The fire had long since gone out. Welcome, guest. Are you stopping for a meal? Or looking for a room? The blind old man didn't pause his hands. His voice was so hoarse it sounded like 2 pieces of sandpaper rubbing. Old man, running an inn in a place like this. Your business is truly unique. I didn't let down my guard, my sword intent ready to strike. Hearing this, the old man slightly raised his deeply wrinkled face. Those empty, eyeless sockets, fixed precisely in my direction, or rather at the Taixu heaven-slaying sword in my hand. The inn is not for the living, only to wait for those who return. The old man suddenly set down his carving knife. His shriveled lips trembled slightly. Young man, is that sword in your hand the Taixu? I raised my eyebrows and admitted openly without hesitation. Yes, what of it? The old man sprang to his feet, so moved. He even knocked over the table before him. From his empty eye sockets, 2 streams of turbid blood tears actually flowed out. I've been waiting in this endless darkness, enduring for a full 80 years, finally waiting for the fated one to draw this sword. He stumbled forward, but suddenly, as if sensing something, he abruptly turned towards Su Qing'an behind me. This aura is upright and everlasting, unyielding and unbending. Girl, do you practice the grand aura sword technique of the Tangshuan sect? And hanging at your waist, is that the chief's keepsake, the jade flute from the Tangshuan sect? Su Qing'an trembled all over, and looked at the blind old man before her in disbelief. How do you know that? Who exactly are you? The old man let out a long skyward wail, and in his laughter was endless sadness. Who am I, girl? According to seniority, you should call me Great Grandmaster. I am the 7th generation chief of the Tangshuan sect. With those words, Lin Daozhu, it was like a thunderclap in the quiet. Su Qing'an stood stunned as if struck by lightning, frozen in place. Great Grandmaster, how could it be? According to the secret records of the Tangshuan sect, the seventh generation chief disappeared mysteriously 80 years ago while exploring the far north dragon veins. How could you be at the bottom of the hidden dragon abyss? Lin Daoju gave a bitter smile and groped to sit back down. Back then, I sensed the holy sect was setting up a great plot in the far north. To uncover the truth, I snuck into the hidden dragon abyss alone. But it turned out this wasn't a dragon vein at all. It was a massive sealing array trapping an ancient demon. The holy sect's true purpose was never to protect the great wilderness, but to use the blood of countless souls to nourish this formation and awaken the terror at the bottom of the abyss. I was betrayed by the previous chief of the holy sect, now the holy sect's supreme elder, my eyes destroyed, my cultivation sealed, trapped in this wind and snow inn. They kept me alive to use the grand aura sword energy of the Tangshuan sect as the last ingredient to suppress the seal. They left the Taixu heaven-slaying sword outside as bait, so that if anyone drew this divine blade, a crack would appear in the seal, and I, the core of the array, would be entirely trapped. After hearing this, I gasped again. The holy sect set up such a grand scheme, planning for 80 years, even orchestrating the destruction of the Tangshuan sect. No wonder when the inner guard died, a black mist would seep into the ground. They wanted to use the holy sun as a sacrifice to completely unleash the hidden dragon abyss. King An couldn't hold back any longer and fell to her knees before Lin Daoju with a thud. Tears streamed down like rain. Great Grandmaster, the Tangshuan sect. The Tangshuan sect has already been exterminated by the holy sect and the Lin family. All our senior brothers died in battle, leaving only me, King An. Lin Daoju trembled violently all over, his withered hands clutching the table legs tightly, his fingernails digging into the wood. Such ruthless methods from the holy sect, and such a merciless plan. Don't cry, child. As long as our righteous spirit does not die out, the Tangshuan sect will never truly be gone. And just as the two were reunited in grief, the entire subterranean abyss suddenly shook violently. A terrifying pressure like an overwhelming tide instantly locked onto the wind and snow inn. The miasma in the sky was torn apart by brute force, accompanied by suffocating demonic sounds. One after another, figures exuding overwhelming bloodlust descended from the sky. Over 100 elite holy sect experts surrounded the inn like a dark cloud. In the lead was a terrifying elder, at the mid-stage divine realm. He wore a gold and red Tai Chi robe, his entire being radiating an aura powerful enough to shatter the void. He was the same man whose giant face had formed in the sky not long ago, the holy sect's vice leader, the blood lord of the underworld. Who gave you the audacity to kill my holy sect's holy son and destroy my sect's 100-year plan? The blood lord's voice boomed like thunder. The roof of the Zun Inn exploded with a thunderous blast. His upside-down triangle-shaped eyes locked onto me intensely. He sensed that I only had the aura of the early divine power realm. A cruel, cold smile curled at his lips. I thought I was facing some sort of three-headed, six-armed monster. Turns out it's just a rookie kid who just entered the divine power realm. Old ghost, looks like your so-called savior. Doesn't even qualify to collect your corpse. Inside the inn, Lin Daoju's face suddenly changed. He suddenly stood up. He pushed Su Qing'an over to my side. Brother, hurry and take him away. That nether blood lord is a seasoned powerhouse at the mid-stage of the divine power realm, and he even holds the holy sect's treasured artifact. This old bag of bones will blow up his primordial spirit today. Give you guys about half an incense stick's worth of time. Remember, you must not let them awaken whatever lies beneath the abyss. Watching Lin Daoju prepare to burn his soul in such a tragic way, I helplessly rolled my eyes and pressed down firmly on his shoulder. I said, "Old man, in my era, we never sent elders out to fight. That's not the custom. Just sit tight, have a hot cup of tea, and enjoy the show." I turned around and looked through the ruined rooftop at the arrogant army of the holy sect floating in midair. That arrogant, wild grin appeared on my lips again. What bullshit, Nether Blood Lord. I didn't get enough killing up there just now. Since you all are rushing in to die, I'll make sure Dragon Abyss gets a few more words added today. I stepped forward once, rising directly into midair, facing off with the Nether Blood Lord from afar. Arrogant, ignorant little brat, take him down from me. The Nether Blood Lord shouted angrily. Dozens of holy sect guardians at the peak of the true sea realm behind him all drew their magical treasures at once. All sorts of colorful divine powers filled the sky, raining down on me like a violent storm. Faced with an attack strong enough to turn a whole city into a wasteland, I didn't even bother to draw my sword. Just slowly opened my arms. My eyes instantly turned into pure dazzling gold. Ancient God of Slaughter domain open. Boom. Centered on me, the space within a 10-mile radius instantly turned into a dark red Asura battleground. An ancient and boundless aura, a slaughter law imbued with endless intent of destruction, directly replaced the rules of this world. All those powerful divine arts and spells, the moment they entered my domain, it was like a clay ox falling into the sea. Didn't even make a splash, and instantly collapsed into raw spiritual energy. What kind of domain is this? It can actually devour laws. Dozens of sacred sect protectors turned pale with shock, desperately tried to retreat, but within my domain, I am the absolute mystery. I snapped my fingers, casually uttered a single word, annihilate. Bang, 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 bang. A series of dense explosions erupted in midair. Those dozens of arrogant sacred sect protectors didn't even have time to scream. Their bodies, under the slaughter domain's strangling force, were like burst blood bags, exploding into blood all over the sky. In the blink of an eye, more than half the sacred sect elites were wiped out. The entire place fell deadly silent. Lin Daoju in the inn below, feeling that pure, ultimate killing intent in the sky. His shriveled lips were even trembling. Life and death decided with a single word. This is the legendary supreme doctrine lost for 10,000 years. Who on earth is this young man? The ghostly blood lord in midair finally put away his arrogance. His face was as grave as could be. Such ruthless methods. I want to see how long you, a rookie just entering the Divine Palace stage, can sustain this domain. Sea of blood purgatory. 10,000 demons devour the heavens. The ghostly blood lord bit his tongue, spat out a mouthful of essence blood, formed hand seals at blinding speed. Suddenly the void behind him ripped open with a massive blood-red gash. Tens of thousands of wraiths wreathed in nether black flames crawled out wildly from the rift, gathering into a stinking blood-red river, howling as it crashed toward my domain. This is a deadly ultimate technique of the mid-divine power stage. Where it passed, even space itself sizzled and corroded. All for show. Plenty of fancy tricks. I sneered coldly. My right hand finally slowly gripped the Taisu sky-slashing sword on my back. The instant I grabbed the hilt, the few sword bones within my body resonated with the divine sword like never before. A supreme sword intent soaring above all creation burst skyward from my body, directly splitting that oppressive blood-red river, carving a gap through it. I leapt up, man and sword as one, transforming into a brilliant violet gold beam, slashing sky sword art, 20th movement Milky Way. No deafening thunder, only the utmost speed and power. That violet gold sword light, like a Milky Way splitting the eternal night, cleaved through the blood-red river with invincible might, instantly sliced it apart, shattering countless wraiths. Finally, unimpeded, pierced right through the ghostly blood lord's protective divine light. Ghostly blood lord's body froze in midair. He bowed his head in disbelief, staring at the mirror-smooth bloodline on his chest, his eyes filled with fear and unwillingness. A miniature sword. How could it ignore my divine art's laws? I can't accept this. My sacred sex grand plan. How can our great cause be destroyed by you? Before he finished speaking, he was split in two in midair. The lingering sword intent instantly shredded his soul completely. Mid-divine power stage, sacred sect vice lord, falls. I stood in the air holding my sword. My white robes snapped in the fresh wind, Like an invincible supreme sword god. Young master, you're incredible. Below, Su Qing'an was flushed with excitement, her eyes full of star-like admiration. I landed in front of the inn, casually spun my sword, and sheathed the Taxu sky-slashing sword, just about to exchange a few polite words with Lin Daoju. A few words of courtesy. Suddenly my brows furrowed deeply. An unprecedented sense of mortal danger instantly washed over me. Damn, the ghostly bloodlord's corpse split in two, didn't fall to the ground, but instead turned into two dense clouds of crimson blood mist, as if drawn by some power. Madly surged downwards, toward that bottomless rift, along with the black aura left after Jun Wudao's death, and the dozens of dead protectors. At this moment, catastrophe seemed to have gathered, the final piece to a nefarious ritual. Crack, crack, crack. A chillingly deep, low laughter slowly echoed up from the deepest part of Dragon Burial Abyss, as if it came from the depths of hell, carrying an ancient demonic might that could freeze the soul. The entire underground world began to collapse in frenzy. The snowy inn trembled violently, and instantly became rubble. Lin Daoju's face turned white as paper, gripped the ground with both hands, cried out in despair. The seal, completely shattered. The ghostly blood lord completed the blood markings with his own life. Calamity upon the great wilderness. Demons descend upon the world. I instantly pulled Su Qing'an and Lin Daoju behind me, eyes locked on that yawning endless abyss. Buma colossal, pitch black, scale-covered dragon claw, burning with karmic fire, terrifying and huge, suddenly thrust up out of the depths, gripping the edge of the earth tightly. And then, from that endless darkness, a vast golden dragon head, like twin blood moons full of savage killer intent. After sleeping 100,000 years, at last meets the light of day again. Ants of the great wilderness, prepare to meet that ancient, immense voice exploded directly in my mind, making my energy and blood churn violently. Ding! Ultimate hidden main quest triggered. Slay the dragon, destroy the god. Quest objective: kill the ancient fallen black dragon. Stop the destruction of the great wilderness. Quest reward: Sword Dao Realm Breakthrough. Advance to Divine Powers stage. Achievement complete. Obtain the ultimate form of the Supreme Sword Bone. As the system spoke in my mind, I stared at the ancient fallen black dragon, climbing from the abyss, blotting out the sky, yet felt not a trace of fear. Instead, the corners of my lips curled into a crazed grin. Slay a dragon, huh? I turned to look at Su Qing'an, already gasping for air under the dragon's pressure, and old Lin. Raised my brows at Qing'an. Watch closely today, young master will show you what it means to truly slice through enemies like vegetables. With that, I didn't hesitate. Drew the Taixu sky-slashing sword with a backhand, rushing headlong into the ancient black dragon's godlike presence, transforming into a golden lightning bolt, charging upward. Standing upon the massive ancient black dragon, I showed no sign of retreat, the Taixu sky-slashing sword in my hand. A sword cry that shakes the ages echoed out. The black dragon's massive body was like a sprawling mountain range. Even a single scale was larger than the wind and snow in. He stared at me, as if gazing at a tiny speck of dust. After opening its maw that seemed capable of devouring the stars, a gust of black dragon breath, carrying destruction and decay, transformed into an apocalyptic storm rushing towards me. Wherever this dragon breath passed, even time itself burned and twisted. Ling Daoju shouted desperately from below. This is ancient karmic fire. A single trace would obliterate soul and spirit. I sneered coldly. Divine power within me erupted in billions of dazzling rays. The ancient Godslayer domain was compressed to its extreme by me. Attached to the blade of the Taixu heaven-slaying sword, I gripped the sword with both hands, and fiercely cleaved at the sky full of karmic fire. Make way for me. A purple-gold sword aura stretching thousands of feet, like the first dawn splitting heaven and earth, forcefully split the world-ending dragon breath in two. The sword aura didn't lose momentum, and struck directly at the unbreakable chin of the black dragon, accompanied by a deafening clash of metal and stone. A black dragon scale as large as a house was pried off by sheer force. Dark golden dragon blood poured down like a waterfall. The black dragon writhed in pain and let out a roar that shook the heavens. How many years has it been? How dare an insect harm my true form? I will crush you and this world to dust. The black dragon completely lost control. Its massive tail whipped like a divine lash, carrying a thunderous boom that tore through space. It lashed fiercely at me. So fast. Even my divine sense almost couldn't track it. But I didn't dodge. Because retreat isn't in my vocabulary. Several sword bones fully awakened. I transformed wholly into a humanoid divine sword that pierced the heavens and earth. Heaven-cutting sword technique, third move, Slayer of Immortals. At the moment I drew the Taiksu heaven-cutting sword, I instinctively comprehended this supreme killing move. My body emitter transformed into tens of thousands of afterimages. Each afterimage, unleashed, a sword light powerful enough to shatter stars. Tens of thousands of beams converged to a single point within 1/1000th of a second. They collided head-on with the sweeping, contemptuous black dragon tail. In that instant, the world fell silent. Only the ultimate radiance remained, blinding Su Qing'an and Lindaoju below. Next came the black dragon's terrified and utterly frantic, ear-splitting screams. With that sword strike, I not only severed its proud and mighty dragon tail, but also followed through the wound, injecting the destructive laws of the ancient killing god's domain deep into its body. The black dragon's massive frame convulsed violently in midair, desperately struggling. In its blood moon-like dragon eyes, fear finally appeared. Who exactly are you? Why does your aura surpass even the heavenly Tao? It was terrified. It wanted to flee. It frantically burrowed toward the unfathomable depths of Dragon Burial Abyss, thinking it could come and go as it pleased, thinking it could leave any time. You think my place is a mud skipper's hole? I seized the advantage and pressed the attack. Stomping the ground, a flash of golden light appeared above its dragon head. Gripping the Taisu heaven-cutting sword in a reverse hold with both hands, I channeled every ounce of divine power and spirit energy in my body into the sword without reservation. I descended from the sky like a purple-gold meteor, crashing down. My sword met no resistance and pierced right into the black dragon's brow, into its most fragile reverse scale. The destructive sword intent exploded in its mind, completely shattering its ancient dragon soul, which had slept for 100,000 years. The black dragon's gigantic body went rigid in an instant, and its blood-red dragon eyes lost all their luster. Boom! Its mountain-like corpse crashed heavily onto the mouth of the Dragon Burial Abyss, creating a terrifying crater thousands of feet deep. The system prompt sounded right on time. Ding! Congratulations, host, for slaying the ancient fallen black dragon. Hidden main quest completed. Reward granted, Sword Dao breakthrough to divine mastery perfection. Reward granted, ultimate form of extreme Dao sword bone. Awakened, 10,000 swords sacred body. An unprecedented and vast power surged wildly in my body. What used to be just one divine mastery now filled my danshan and formed a connected expanse, transforming into a true 36 heavens. I slowly sheathed my longsword and floated down from the black dragon's corpse. Dressed in snow-white robes, not a speck of dust touched me. Young Lord Sushinun's tears streamed down in excitement, throwing himself into my arms without hesitation. He clung tightly to me, as if afraid I would vanish in the next second. I smiled, patting his head, and was just about to tease him, when a fit of violent coughing erupted behind me. Lin Daoju had collapsed to the ground, his whole body radiating a gray aura of death.
His body
was gradually dissolving into transparent points of light. Grandmaster, what's wrong? Su Qing'an, terrified, released me and hurried over to help old Lin. Lin Daoju shook his head, but his face wore a deeply gratified smile. Silly girl, don't cry. This old man's life force has long been fused with the seal of the Dragon Burial Abyss. Now that the seal is broken and the evil demon is dead, my mission is fulfilled. He trembled and took out a simple, ancient sect leader's jade token from his pocket. He placed it in Su Qingyan's hand. From today onward, you are the 8th generation sect leader of Tangshuan sect. Remember the spirit of righteousness. Let it endure within the heavens and earth. Never let our sect die out. After finishing, he turned toward me. Although he had no eyes, I could feel his profound respect. Brother Lin, the fate of Tangshuan sect's last hope is entrusted to you. Even in the afterlife, I will... Watching Lin Daoju about to turn to dust, Su Qingyan was sobbing uncontrollably. I sighed, walked forward, and pressed my hand on Lin Daoju's head. Old bastard, I haven't agreed to your death. How dare you die? With the newly awakened 10,000 swords sacred body, I unleashed vibrant life energy, calling upon the reversal law of divine mastery perfection. I forcibly reversed the surrounding space. Condense. Forcefully, I dragged back Lin Daoju's dissipating 3 soul essences, pulling them from the void. Then I snatched Su Qingyan's jade flute from her waist, and sealed the remaining spirit of Ling Daoju inside. Though his body is gone, so long as his soul remains, we'll seek peerless treasures in the future, and rebuild his consciousness all the same. Su Qingyan looked at the gentle, glowing jade flute, and broke into tears of joy. Excitedly, he kowtowed to me again and again. I pulled him up, and pointed into the distance, at the mountain-sized corpse of the black dragon. Don't rush to thank me. Grab the spoils first. This black dragon is a treasure trove. Dragon scales can become armor. Dragon blood can temper the body. Dragon tendons can be used for bowstrings. With the Taixu heaven-cutting sword, I skillfully dismembered the black dragon. Most importantly, I found in its danshan a dragon pearl the size of a water vat. The dragon pearl radiated the purest spirit energy. Yet strangely, at its very core, there was a golden imperial mark. I had seen that mark in my family's ancient records. It belonged exclusively to the royal house of the Great Wastelands dynasty, 9 dragons first. I squinted my eyes, a sudden realization dawning within. Apparently, behind the shocking killing scheme in Dragon Burial Abyss, the mastermind isn't just the Holy Sect. The Holy Sect is merely the puppet on stage, the true one aiming to extract the Northern Dragon vein and awaken the Black Dragon to extend its fate, is the Emperor of the Great Wastelands dynasty, high and mighty, overlooking all beings. Things are getting ever more interesting. I stored the dragon pearl into my spatial ring, and with Su Qingyan moved in a flash of golden light, leaving behind the underground ruins. Time flew by, and half a year passed in the blink of an eye. In the watery region of Jiangnan, a hidden place shrouded in mist and great arrays all year round. Here, birds sing and flowers bloom. Spirit energy is abundant. I named it New Tangshuan Fortress. After half a year of cultivation, my realm has completely stabilized, at divine mastery perfection, and I faintly touched the threshold of the legendary Saint King realm. As for Su Qingyan under my guidance, and the tempering from Black Dragon's blood, his cultivation soared, making rapid progress, reaching the early stage of the true sea realm. These past 6 months, we didn't rush to seek revenge, but enjoyed a rare period of peaceful life. Shinhan, could you improve your cooking skills just a bit? Staring at the plate of chicken before me, charred like coal, billowing with bizarre green smoke, I was speechless. Su Shinhan wore an apron, with streaks of black ash smudged across his face. Still holding a spatula in his hand, his stunning face was full of grievance. Young master, I've really tried to control the heat, but this Xuanchen spirit fire is too overpowering. I sighed helplessly, grabbed the spatula from his hand. The dignified sect leader of Tangshuan sect is roasting chicken with the spirit fire. Only you could do something like that. Go watch from the side. Today I'll show you what it means to be a god of cooking. I handled the ingredients skillfully, skewered the sliced black dragon meat on iron sticks. A gentle spirit fire flickered from my fingertips, slowly roasting. Soon golden fat dripped down. The rich aroma of meat filled the entire valley. Su Qingyan sat obediently on a stone nearby, hands cupping his chin, staring at me in a daze. The cold eyes no longer held the arrogance they used to. Only a deep, unspoken affection remained. How wonderful it would be if things could always stay like this, he whispered softly, a blissful smile on his lips. I flipped the meat skewers, laughed without turning my head. Wishful thinking. The blood feud of your Changshuan sect is still unresolved. The old man is still in the flute, waiting for his body to be rebuilt. Once we've dealt with all those debtors, then we'll consider retiring. The conversation about leaving happened as we ate dragon meat and drank spirit wine, enjoying this moment of peace. Outside the valley, the great formation suddenly erupted with intense waves. Someone is forcefully trying to break through the barrier. I put down my wine cup. My gaze instantly turned sharp. I personally set up this grand array. Anyone without a true sea stage, perfect cultivation can't even shake it a bit. Let's go take a look. We've got visitors. I took Su Qing'an with me, flashed forward, and appeared at the edge of the mist at the valley entrance. Outside the grand formation, 3 people were standing, all wearing golden armor of the Derwang Imperial Guard. The leader was handsome, holding a scroll in his hands, emitting a powerful golden imperial decree. Surprisingly, he was at the early divine power stage. Listen, Imperial Guard Commander Lin Fan, you bold rebel. You murdered the Holy Sect's special envoy, destroyed the dragon vein of the far north, and committed crimes that are unforgivable. The Imperial Commander's voice was like a booming bell, making the surrounding rocks rustle and tumble down.
His Majesty has decreed.
Considering your cultivation was not easy to achieve, as long as you hand over the divine sword Dragon Pearl of the far north, and follow this commander back to the capital's prison for trial, your Lin family's 9 generations may be spared from death. Otherwise, I will flatten this broken valley today, and send the female thief beside you to the Imperial Courtesan Bureau. Listening to this lofty proclamation, Su Qing'an and I exchanged a glance, both seeing in each other's eyes a hint of mockery, as if looking at an idiot. The Lin family's 9 generations are none of my business. I've wanted to kill them all for a long time. I picked my ear, walked out of the formation unhurriedly, and looked at the Imperial Commander. Use the great desolate Emperor's decree to wipe your ass. Go back and tell that old thing sitting on the dragon throne, the debt from when he joined the Holy Sect to destroy the Sky Profound Sect. I'll be going to the capital soon to settle it with him personally. Presumptuous! How dare you insult His Majesty? Seize him. The Imperial Commander was furious. Condensing a golden spear in his hand, he thrust it directly towards the center of my brow. The speed is decent, but unfortunately it's too weak. I didn't even draw my sword, but simply reached out 2 fingers and steadily caught that aggressive golden spear. Under the Imperial Commander's ghost-seeing gaze, I applied a little pressure. Crack! The god-grade artifact golden spear shattered into pieces. Immediately following that, I delivered a backhand slap directly to his face, accompanied by the sound of bones shattering. This commander at the early stage of the divine power realm was sent spinning 18 times in the air by my slap and crashed heavily into the mud, buried so deep he couldn't be dug out. The other 2 guards were so terrified their legs went weak, kneeling directly on the ground and kowtowing frantically. I didn't kill them. I kept them to go back and deliver a message. Scram back and tell the Emperor to wash his neck clean and wait for the great Immortal ceremony in the capital 3 months from now. I will bring his Dragon Pearl to crash the party personally. The 3 guards fled in a panic. I turned to look at Su Qing'an, a raging fighting spirit burning in my eyes. Qing'an, these 6 months of peaceful days are over. Get ready to go to the great, desolate capital and flip the Emperor's table. Su Qing'an drew her long sword, the sword intent piercing through the clouds, a breathtaking smile blooming on her beautiful face. Wherever the young master's blade points, Qing'an will follow even unto 10,000 deaths. Watching the 3 guards flee in terror, I brushed the dust off my hands and turned to look at Su Qing'an, whose eyes were full of stars. Qing'an, go change out of those clothes smelling of kitchen smoke. This young master is in a good mood today, and will custom make an outfit for you that truly befits your status as a princess. Returning to the forge deep in the secluded valley, I brought out that mountain-like, black dragon corpse. After 6 months of accumulation, my control over the peak divine power realm power has reached perfection. Moreover, I have that heaven-defying myriad sword same body in my soul. I forced out a drop of essence blood from my fingertip, flicked it, and it turned into a clump of purple gold origin true fire, directly enveloping those indestructible black dragon reverse scales. Boom! The firelight in the forge soared to the sky. I used sword intent as a hammer, and spiritual sense as an anvil, striking for 3 full days and nights. When the stone door of the forge burst open again, Su Kingan was waiting obediently outside the door. With a wave of my hand, a piece of inner armor shimmering with dark golden light, and a slender pitch-black treasure sword, with the faint sound of a dragon's roar, floated steadily in front of her. This inner armor was forged by mixing black dragon reverse scales with my sword intent. Even if the great desolate emperor himself attacks, it can block a fatal blow for you. As for this sword, I named it Night Slayer. It was formed from the black dragon's hardest spine, sealing 1% of the ancient black dragon's remnant soul within. Su Kingan reached out her hand tremblingly. As soon as her fingertips touched the hilt, the Night Slayer sword let out a joyful chime, merging directly with the noble sword intent inside her. She put on the dark golden dragon scale inner armor, draped a simple and elegant white sword robe over it, and tied her long black hair up high. She lost a bit of the weakness and misery from the death row prison, and gained the coldness and dominance of a peerless sword immortal. In that moment, even I couldn't help but look twice. Ahem asterisk. Just then, from Su Kingan's green jade flute, an ill-timed dry cough suddenly came out. Kid Lin, although I only have a sliver of remnant soul left, I'm not completely blind yet. That staring gaze of yours, are you trying to swallow the sect master of my sky-profound sect whole? Lin Daoji's irreverent old voice floated out of the flute. In the past half-year, I have been nourishing his remnant soul with various heavenly herbs. This old man has not only regained consciousness, but has also become quite the chatterbox. I rolled my eyes and gave a cold laugh. Old dang. If you say one more word, believe it or not, I'll use this green jade flute to unclog a sewer. Inside the flute, Lin Daoju instantly shut up. He couldn't afford to offend him. He really couldn't afford to provoke this living Yoma. 3 months passed in a flash. In Taiwu City, the capital of the Great Desolate Dynasty, the capital today, was decorated with lanterns and streamers, incredibly bustling. In the sky, giant flying ships from various sects kept landing. The Great Immortal ceremony, held once every 500 years in the Great Desolation, formally raised its curtain. Su Kingan and I put on the 1,000 illusion-gar masks, disguising ourselves as a pair of rogue cultivators with no background. Blending into the bustling crowd, we stepped into this magnificent capital city. Young master, the spiritual energy in Taiwu City is very strange. Su Kingan lowered her voice, frowning slightly. On the surface, it's flourishing like a garden, but underground, there seems to be an extremely thick smell of blood. I nodded slightly, a cold gleam flashing in my eyes. My spiritual sense far exceeds ordinary people. The moment I stepped into the city gate, I noticed that beneath this capital, a massive and peerlessly sinister array had been laid out, and the eye of the array was located deep within the palace. It seems that Emperor's ambition is even larger than I imagined. We settled in a humble tea house in the south of the city. Just as we sat down and ordered a pot of tea, we heard several rogue cultivators at the next table,
discussing in low voices.
Have you heard? For this great immortal ceremony, His Majesty will not only bestow titles upon all immortals, but also use the blood of the sky-profound sect remnants to sacrifice to heaven. My hand holding the teacup paused slightly, and Su Kingan's whole body stiffened. The rogue cultivator continued mysteriously. I heard the Imperial Guard's secret agents in the far north caught a survivor of the sky-profound sect. It's a lame and blind mortal, an old man, who insists he was the gatekeeper for the sky-profound sect back then. The Emperor has decreed to sacrifice him to heaven during tomorrow's ceremony. He is to be executed by slow slicing, to serve as a warning to all who dare defy the empire. Crack. The teacup in Su Xing'an's hand instantly turned to dust. Scalding tea ran down his hand. But he didn't feel a thing. His eyes reddened in an instant. Tears spun wildly in his eyes. It's Wang Biao. Back when I first joined the sect, it was Wang Biao who made me osment this cake every day. The day the Tangshuan sect was destroyed, he covered my escape, and his legs were crushed by the collapsing mountain gate. I thought he had died in battle long ago. I never expected he would end up in the royal family's hands. I pulled out a handkerchief and gently wiped the water from his hand. My eyes were as calm as the deep sea before a storm. Don't cry. A swordsman's tears can't kill. I stood up and tossed a piece of broken silver. Let's go. Since the ceremony starts tomorrow, we'll pay a visit to the imperial prison tonight and collect a little interest. Night fell. The notorious imperial guard of the Great Wilderness Dynasty was about to face something unexpected. This place was heavily guarded. There were traps and arrays everywhere. But with my supreme sword body, at the divine power realm's perfection, these arrays were no more than a child's toys. Holding Su Xing'an's hand, we strolled through the dark corridors as if taking a casual walk. The hidden guards along the way didn't even see our shadows, before the invisible sword energy I released instantly erased their lives. Not a trace of blood was left behind. The ultimate killing is often silent and unseen. At the deepest part of the dungeon, we found the so-called felon. He was an old man, his collarbone pierced by an iron hook, suspended in midair. He was skin and bones, his body covered with wounds. His legs were twisted in a grotesque way, one eye already blind, but in his blood-soaked embrace, he clung tightly to a broken black wooden plaque. On the plaque, 2 gold remnants of characters, Tianxuan Wang Biao, could barely be seen. Su Xing'an couldn't hold back anymore. He rushed forward without hesitation. With one sword strike, he severed the iron chains soaked in poison. Carefully, he cradled the old man in his arms. The old man breathed weakly, his remaining single eye struggling to see clearly the person before him. Upon hearing that familiar name, the old man's cloudy eyes suddenly burst with a hint of unbelievable light. Is that you, Xing'an? Su Xing'an's tears came pouring down. She nodded desperately. It's me, Wang Biao. It's me, I'm not dead. I've come back to save you. The old man's shriveled lips trembled violently, but he didn't cry. Instead, he let out an extremely hoarse laugh. Good, good. Heaven truly has eyes. Our Tianxuan sect hasn't ended with me. Xing'an, hurry and go. Don't worry about me. The Emperor of the Grand Wilderness has set up an impenetrable trap, just waiting for you to turn yourself in. Walk right into the trap. He shakily raised the broken plaque in his arms. This is the half-sect signboard. I risked my life to dig out from the ruins. I'm useless now. Couldn't save the foundation of Tianxuan sect, so I could only try my best to protect this plaque, so they wouldn't burn it for firewood. Take it and rebuild Tianxuan sect. After saying these words, the old man seemed to use up the last bit of his life force. That withered hand fell feebly down. But his face wore a serene and proud smile. The cell became dead silent. The only sound was Su Xing'an's suppressed screams of sorrow. I quietly stood in the shadows, watching this scene. In my mind, the nato little sword that had been silent for so long suddenly erupted in an unprecedented blinding red light. D detected Tianxuan gatekeeper, Wang Chansheng's dying obsession. Condition to resolve, blood for blood. Overturn the Grand Wilderness underworld. Restore Tianxuan's prestige. Quest reward unlocked. Ancient Sword Immortal's natal divine power. Heaven and Earth Sword, gain rule fragment of sacrificial destruction. I slowly exhaled a deep breath, walked to Su Xing'an's side, took the blood-stained plaque, stored it in my storage ring. Then I reached out and helped her up from the ground. Xing'an, wipe your tears. Tomorrow, I want every noble of the Grand Wilderness Dynasty to wear mourning white for Wang Biao. The next morning, at the Tianji altar in the center of Taiwu City, the towering white jade altar, hundreds of feet high, was surrounded by dense crowds, filled with tens of thousands of sect leaders and elites from all over the grand wilderness. Countless banners blocked out the sun, and golden-armored imperial guards encircled the altar so tightly not a gap remained. Accompanied by 9 deafening dragon horn blasts, the highest ruler of the Grand Wilderness Dynasty, Emperor Wang Futian, carrying an air of unmatched superiority, ascended slowly to the highest point of the altar. He wore a 9-dragon purple gold robe and a flat heaven crown on his head. His whole body radiated terrifying power at the late divine skill realm. Such cultivation was enough to dominate the whole grand dynasty. Rise, all subjects. Huang Futian's voice was filled with surging true energy, spreading throughout the entire capital.
Today
Is our grand wilderness dynasty's once in 500 years gathering of immortal emperors. I am blessed by heaven's will, and wish to gather the luck of all under heaven, break the shackles, and step into the legendary Saint King realm. But his tone suddenly shifted, his gaze growing extremely sinister. But before I reach the peak, all stubborn traitors must be eliminated. When the Tianzhuan sect remnants come forward, 2 golden armored guards dragged a corpse covered with a white sheet up onto the altar. It was Wang Biao, who died last night in the cell. Huang Futian sneered. That old dog bit his tongue and killed himself in prison last night. But that won't stop me from using him as an example. Men, grind that old dog's body to dust, scatter it in the moat, and let thousands trample it. Below the platform, tens of thousands of sect cultivators went dead silent. Everyone knew the emperor was asserting his power. Just as those 2 guards drew their swords, ready to dismember the body, a lazy yet ice-cold voice suddenly boomed above the Tianji altar. Hey, old emperor, did you forget to brush your teeth this morning? How come your mouth is so foul? You really think you're favored by heaven? That sudden mocking voice made the whole Tianji ritual platform instantly freeze with deadly silence. Tens of thousands were shocked. Looked up and saw high above the sky, the clouds violently kicked aside by someone, and a man and a woman strode in through the air. The man wore snow-white robes, as pure as immortal dust. The woman wore a stunning green dress, her hand on her sword's hilt. It was me and Su Qing'an now fully regaining our true selves. How dare you? Who dares to disrupt the immortal ceremony? The Grand Chamberlain shrieked in fury. I ignored that old dog, and just casually snapped my fingers. But a thin purple gold sword key burst from my fingertips. The 2 guards about to deal with Wang Bo's body didn't even have time to react when their heads exploded like watermelons, splattering blood all over Wang Futian's feet. I hung suspended in midair, walking step by step down from the heavens, finally landing firmly on the jade steps of the altar, just 10 yards away from the Grand Wilderness Emperor. Let me introduce myself. I'm Lin Fan. The 3 losers you sent to Xinshenjuan Valley to die should have mentioned my name to you. Lin Fan. Huang Futian's pupils shrank sharply. He stared at me intently, feeling the abyss-like, uncertain depth of my aura. The muscles on his face twitched ever so slightly. You're the one who killed the sacred sect envoy and slaughtered the sacred son from the Ling family. Can't believe you dare come to the capital to die. I sighed and shook my head. Why do you villains always mistake confidence for strength? I didn't come here today to die. I'm here to deliver a gift. As I spoke, I flipped my wrist, and a terrifyingly powerful dragon pearl, the size of a water tank, a black dragon pearl smashed onto the white jade floor, and I planted the blood-stained Tianzhuan plaque firmly atop the dragon pearl. The black dragon pearl from the extreme northern dragon vein is actually in your hands? Huang Futian stared at the dragon pearl, no longer able to hide his greed. I've searched everywhere for this, finally found it. Once I devour the 9-dragon imperial seal within this pearl, I can become a saint instantly. Men, unravel the 9 nether demons subduing array, and capture this madman for me. With Wang Futian's command, the entire land of Huangzhou shook violently. Turns out he'd long ago laid an ambush under this altar, of 36 peak True Sea Realm royal guards. 36 towering blood pillars shot up and formed a gigantic bloody web in midair, directly wrapping Su Qingyan and me within. But that's not all. Those tens of thousands of sect cultivators below suddenly began shrieking horribly, terrified to discover the spiritual power and blood within their bodies, being frantically drained by the patterns of the array and transformed into nourishment, continuously flowing into Huang Futian. Your Majesty, what are you doing? We are your loyal subjects. Huang Futian spread his arms wide, wildly absorbing this vast power. His late divine skill realm cultivation climbed rapidly, gradually, touching the barrier of the peak divine skill realm. You insects will be the stepping stones for my rise to sainthood. Lin Fan inside this imperial city formation. Even if you have sky-high abilities, you won't escape today, no matter what. Staring at the crazed demon-like Huang Futian, I felt no panic at all. Instead, I laughed out loud. Oh, old emperor, your star-absorbing technique isn't even halfway mastered, absorbing the blood of a bunch of nobodies. And you think you're invincible? I turned to Su Qingyan. Qingyan, close your eyes. What happens next might get bloody. Su Qingyan nodded obediently, stepped back, drew her night-slaying sword, and silently guarded Wang Bo's corpse. I took a deep breath as my 36-fold divine skills roared to life in my body, the saint body origin of 10,000 swords, once suppressed. Like an ancient beast asleep for tens of millions of years, finally opened its eyes. Ancient domain of the god of killing activate. With my low shout, a power, even more terrifying than Huang Futian, tenfold, hundredfold, carrying an intense killing intent to the extreme, like a dark crimson storm. It instantly swept across the entire sacrificial platform, that so-called 9 nether demon suppressing array, said to subdue all. The blood net, at the moment it touched my domain, was like paper mache. It was torn apart into countless fragments with overwhelming force. Huang Futian's manic grin froze instantly.
He looked in disbelief at those 36 royal guardians.
Under the pressure of my god of slaughter domain, all at once they sprayed blood crazily, fell to their knees. Unable to move even a single finger, I slowly raised my right hand, formed a sword gesture with my fingers. Brilliant sword energy half a yard long flickered from my fingertips. The rules of the wildlands have been set for far too long. Today I, Lin Fan, am here to change them with heaven's sword. Clang, 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 clang. As I shouted explosively, throughout Taiwu City, millions of ordinary weapons and magical treasures all let out a deep, mournful cry at that instant. Countless swords uncontrollably soared from all directions into the sky. In the heavens, they gathered into a mighty river of steel swords, blocking out the sun and sky, as if doomsday had descended. I slashed, joining fingers like sword, gently waved toward those 36 guardians, whooshed between heaven and earth. Only a singular, pure, ultimate white light remained. White light flashed. The 36 peak royal guardians of the True Sea realm, as well as their proud defensive divine arts, were sliced cleanly in half like tofu. A downpour of blood stained the entire sacrificial platform red. One sword instantly killed 36 top masters. The sect cultivators who survived below were all terrified to the core, collapsed weakly on the ground. The look in their eyes towards me was as if staring at a living god of slaughter. Now it's your turn. I lifted my head, my gaze cold, locked onto Huang Futian atop the high platform. Huang Futian utterly panicked. He felt that aura, terrifying enough to erase his soul. Sword intent without formation is the main array of the wildlands. Blessed by fate,
He crazily burned his essence.
And blood, channeling all the immense power he just absorbed, gathered it entirely in his fists. It transformed into 2 colossal golden dragons, roaring as they rushed to strike me. Imperial Dragon Sword. Break, staring at those fierce golden dragons. I didn't even dodge, just slowly closed my eyes. The system's voice rang again in my mind. Resolve Wang Changsheng's obsession. Success awarded. Heaven and Earth Sword. Law fragment extinction has fused. When I opened my eyes again, my pupils had lost all human emotion. Only a sweeping view of all things. Complete indifference regarding all life as insignificant. I gripped the void heaven-slaying sword. A sense of bleakness and decay, as if it could reduce all things to nothingness, emanated from the blade. Heaven and earth sword. All laws extinct. I casually swung my sword. No earth-shattering explosion, nor dazzling brilliance. Just a gray ripple, sweeping across the sky like a gentle breeze. Those two dominant, colossal golden dragons, upon touching the gray ripple, didn't even let out a single scream. They instantly turned to swirling ash, disappearing without a trace. No, this can't be. Huang Futian let out a hopeless shriek. The residual force of the gray ripple didn't fade, lightly swept across his body. His indestructible 9-dragon purple gold robe instantly decayed, turning to dust. His late-stage divine power body seemed as if eroded by millions of years, withered and aged at a speed visible to the eye. Bang, the once lofty emperor of the wildlands, like an old dog deprived of water, heavily fell at my feet, covered in age spots, without the strength to even stand. What kind of monster are you? Huang Futian coughed up mouthfuls of black blood, his eyes full of unwillingness and terror. I gave him no answer, just coldly stepped on his chest, lifted his chin with the tip of the void heaven-slaying sword. This dragon pearl? Didn't you want it? I'll give it to you, but you'll have to refine it slowly in the afterlife. With that, I flicked my wrist, preparing a sword strike, to finish him off. Just at the brink of death, Huang Futian suddenly burst out with an extremely shrill and eerie laughter. Lin Fan, do you really think you've won? Do you really believe the Wildlands dynasty is ruled by me alone? Wrong. Utterly wrong. We are nothing but two-legged sheep kept in the pen. I want to become a saint, just to escape the control of those things. You killed me. The seal of the Wildlands will be completely broken. They will come for you. Heaven wishes to destroy my Wildlands. Before he finished speaking, his body suddenly inflated like a balloon, swelling frantically. No, he's going to self-destruct his divine power. My gaze sharpened. I grabbed Su Qing'an. Golden light erupted instantly beneath my feet, retreating 10,000 feet back. Boom! An ear-shattering, terrifying explosion. Huang Futian's body exploded atop the sacrificial platform, a powerhouse nearing perfection in divine power realm. His self-destruction was truly earth-shattering. The center of Taiwu City was instantly leveled. Yet, strangely, the blood mist from Huang Futian's self-destruction did not disperse, but seemed drawn by a terrifying suction force, rushed madly toward the void above Taiwu City. The once clear sky suddenly became pitch black like thick ink, an aura far surpassing the divine power realm, even exceeding the Saint King realm's supreme pressure, like the weight of 100,000 mountains, crashing down upon the sky. Between heaven and earth, crack, crack, the void shattered like broken glass, covered in countless cracks. With a chilling sound of shattering, the sky was forcibly torn apart, a terrifying rift stretching thousands of miles. In its unfathomable depths, slowly opened a gigantic, emotionless golden eye. That giant eye gazed coldly down upon all beings, as if a person staring at bacteria in a petri dish, radiating absolute arrogance and indifference. Why has the fortune of the Wildlands ended prematurely? A grand voice devoid of any emotion exploded directly in everyone's soul. Huff, the tens of thousands of sect cultivators below. Just by hearing this voice, blood flowed from their 7 orifices. They fainted instantly. Even Su Qing'an let out a muffled groan, her face pale as paper. If not for my saintly sword body, blocking most of the pressure for her, she would have been seriously wounded too. I protected Su Qing'an behind me, raised my head, stared fixedly at the golden giant eye above the heavens. There wasn't even a trace of fear in my eyes. Instead, an unprecedented madness ignited. Battle intent detected. Arrival of the Reaper from the upper realm. Ultimate main storyline triggered. Break through the heavens in one move for 9 days. System warning. Enemy strength exceeds this realm's law limits. Host, please escape immediately. Warning alert. Host, please escape immediately. Alright. The word retreat has never existed in Lin Fan's dictionary. I'm listening. the frantically flashing red warning from the system in my mind. The wild grin on my lips could no longer be restrained. I lifted the Taixu heavenly slaying sword with one hand. The blade pointed straight to the sky above. That arrogant golden giant. Yanjian's barrier is broken, huh? Very well. Today I want to see for myself. You fakes hiding in the sky pretending to be gods. Are your necks tougher than my sword? I turned my head. Looking at Su Qing'an, who was already shocked beyond belief, I reached out my hand to him. Qing'an, do you dare to join me and venture into the heavens? Let's go see this so-called upper realm. See what kind of ridiculous look it really has. Su Qing'an gazed at my wild and unruly profile. The fear in his eyes vanished completely, replaced by endless obsession and determination. He, without hesitation, placed his hand in my palm, where a young master's sword points. Qing'an will follow, unwavering, even unto death. I tightly gripped Su Qing'an's hand, facing the indifferent golden giant above the heavens. The myriad sword holy body within me erupted with a roar unlike anything before. System. The shrill alarm echoed madly in my mind. Extreme danger. Extreme danger. Detected. The arrival of Upper Realm's Heavenly Tao Will. Host's current level is unable to match. Please immediately slip into the void. I raised my head and laughed unrestrainedly. The sound pierced through the shattered Tewu city. Run. I've never learned how to spell escape in my entire life. So what if you're a heavenly law from the upper realm? You dare treat us like caged livestock? Today I'm going to gouge out your damned eyes. I lifted the Taixu heaven-slaying sword with one hand. Channeling the power of all 36 tiers of divine arts within me, I burned that spiritual energy without holding back. Violet golden sword energy, transformed into a pillar of light piercing the heavens and earth. Su Qing'an didn't retreat in the slightest. The dragon scale armor on his body emitted a dazzling dark golden glow. The Zan the sword and my Taixu heaven-slaying sword produced a mysterious resonance. Righteous spirit and ancient murderous aura blended perfectly in midair. They became a colossal human-shaped sword shadow, tens of thousands of feet tall. That sword shadow's face looked exactly like mine. With insane arrogance, it looked down on the world. Break for me! With a single step, I shattered the void. My figure shot up like a meteor defying fate, heading straight for the towering golden giant eye. The giant eye seemed to sense my provocation. In its cold, indifferent gaze, a faint shock belonging to a god finally appeared. How dare an ant defy the heavens? A voice, devoid of any emotion, exploded between heaven and earth. Right after, from the crack in the sky, tens of thousands of purple apocalyptic lightning bolts descended. Each bolt of lightning was enough to turn a peak divine arts master to dust. This is the punishment of upper realms laws. They're trying to erase me by force, because I am the unpredictable variable who broke the script. Perfect, I burst out laughing. Countless afterimages from my longsword sliced through the air. One sword for heaven and earth. All techniques vanish. That gray, withered power of laws was pushed to the extreme by me. The countless purple lightning bolts. At the instant they touched the ripples of dull gray sword energy, were like dead wood drained of its years, collapsing and dissipating in midair without a sound. How is this possible? Through the agony, a deeply human sense of disbelief flashed by. He simply couldn't comprehend how the lower realm could possess power that could annihilate laws of the upper realm. And in that single thousandth of a second, as he was stunned, I had already crossed 10,000 feet of void. I arrived directly before that enormous golden eye, right in front of it, high above everything. Have you gotten so used to being on top that you've forgotten what it's like to be trampled underfoot? A cruel, cold smirk appeared at the corner of my mouth. Gripping my sword tightly with both hands, I compressed all of my ancient Godslayer domain onto the sword tip and struck fiercely at that golden giant eye. How dare you! The giant eye burst out with a blinding golden light, trying to form a protective divine array. But it was far too late. The Taixu heaven-slaying sword was, after all, a supreme artifact from ancient times, meant to slay even gods. With the full might of my 10,000 swords' holy body added in, there was only a muffled, squelching sound. Not even a Saint King at full power could withstand me slicing through the giant eye's fortress like tofu, forcibly piercing through it. The violet gold blade sank deeply into that golden eye. An utterly miserable scream echoed across the heavens. That was no heavenly Dao. It was obviously a living cultivator from the upper realm, screaming in pain. A torrential rain of golden blood poured from the sky. Every single drop that struck the ground blasted a bottomless crater. I ferociously twisted the sword in my hands, madly injecting the law of destruction into the eye, enjoying the scenery of the lower realm. If you do, then leave your life behind for me. The giant eye trembled uncontrollably, desperately trying to retreat back into the upper realm through the crack in the sky. You damn ant from the lower realm, you dare injure my divine soul projection? The karma clinging to you now belongs to me. When my true body descends, on the day of the great wilderness, it'll be your end, your soul scattered and destroyed. You only have 1 year left. Once that great wilderness cage is completely opened, everyone here will die. Enough talk, try fleeing, and I'll collect some interest first. I yanked my sword out and gave a sharp upward strike, splitting the giant golden eye and half of the sky itself, clean in two. A world-shaking roar followed. The crack in the heavens was forcibly sealed by a raging spatial tempest. The sky returned to peace once more. That golden rain drenched the earth, testifying to the brutality of the battle just moments ago. Just then, the system's ethereal voice echoed abruptly. Ding! Congratulations to the host for shattering the Upper Realm Reaper's projection. Successfully plundered the origin law of the Upper Realm. Shard system beginning deep upgrade. 1% progress. Host broke free from the shackles of the world. You have gained the blessing of the world's destiny. Taixu Heaven-Slaying Sword. Second form unlocked. I slowly drifted down from midair, breathing heavily, gasping for air. That last strike just now drained the spiritual power of 30 whole divine palaces from my body. Now I felt an overwhelming weakness, unlike ever before. Su Qing'an immediately flew forward and caught my tottering body. She took out a spotless handkerchief and gently wiped away the blood at the corner of my mouth, distressed. Young master, are you all right? I gave a weak smile, pinched her soft cheek. I'm fine. Was that sword strike just now awesome or what? Su Qing'an's eyes were red with tears, but she was moved to laughter by my words. Awesome. Young master is the most handsome sword immortal in the world. We landed in the ruins of Taiwu City. Huangfu Tian's self-detonation and the Giant Eye's oppression had obliterated almost 70% of the imperial capital. But thanks to my timely activation of the Godslayer domain, I protected the outer civilian districts. The mortals and lower-level cultivators inside the city survived for the most part. At that moment, the surviving sect leaders from the great wilderness all looked at me as if I were some kind of monster. Suddenly, who knows who it was, but one of them dropped to their knees in the ruins with a thud. Thank you, Master Lin, for saving our lives. We are willing to honor you as the new lord of the great wilderness and serve without hesitation. Right after that, countless followers all knelt down together, shouting long life. Staring at this group of flip-floppers, I yawned out of boredom. Being emperor means reviewing reports every day and cleaning up these idiots' messes. I'd have to be out of my mind to take this thankless job. I grabbed Su Qing'an's hand and turned to leave. Not interested. Let whoever you want be the ruler. But I'll be taking what's in the royal treasury as compensation for my mental trauma. Anyone dares touch it, I'll wipe them out. That one casual line scared those sect elders into a cold sweat, who kept kowtowing in agreement. In the palace ruins, we found the secret tunnel to the underground treasury. The Great Wilderness Dynasty's 5,000 years of accumulation was no joke. There were mountains of premium spirit stones, countless rare celestial herbs and treasures, and hundreds or thousands of top-level artifacts. Su Qing'an and I were dazzled by it all. Without hesitation, I waved my hand, used the spatial law I just mastered, and moved the entire treasury into my ring. Didn't even leave them a single spirit grass. With that done, I clapped my hands in satisfaction and headed back to the new Tangshuan Valley, ready to live our own peaceful days. I summoned the golden light of the earth tunneling technique, turned it into a rainbow arc, and disappeared into the sky with Su Qing'an. On the way back, Su Qing'an leaned tightly against my shoulder. After surviving all those days of deadly battles, she finally let all her defenses down and fell into a deep sleep. Looking at her peaceful, stunning face, a tender feeling I hadn't felt in ages welled up inside me. In this cruel world of cultivation, where intrigue and slaughter are everywhere, as long as I'm here, I'll never let her suffer even a little. So what if the upper realm descends in a year? I slew a black dragon before, so a bunch of self-righteous pretenders are nothing. Back at the new Tangshuan Valley, all the valley's wards remained unharmed. A gentle breeze swept by, bringing the fragrance of herbs and flowers. It was as if that bloody, stormy world outside had nothing to do with this place at all. As soon as I landed, the jade flute at my waist began to vibrate violently. Lingdao's remnant soul floated out, blowing out his beard and glaring at me. You little brats, gone for more than half a month. Do you even realize how bored this old man was here by himself? Didn't even have anyone to talk to. I was about to start reciting scriptures to the rocks. I tossed the storage ring full of treasures onto the stone table, with a heavy clink. Enough complaining, old dang. Take a look at all this. It's the royal stores of the great wilderness. I emptied them all out. All the rare materials you need to rebuild your body are right in here. Keep grumbling and I'll go feed these materials to the dogs. Lingdao thought. When Volf's soul saw those glittering heavenly treasures, his illusory eyes instantly went wide, and he almost started drooling. Kid, you're really something. Back when I was the sect leader, I never saw so many fine treasures. Did you even rob the emperor's underwear? In the days that followed, we experienced a rare period of true peace and calm. Every day, besides stabilizing my cultivation, studying the second form of the void heaven-slaying sword, I just lounged in a rattan chair in the courtyard sunbathing. Meanwhile, Su Qing'an had totally cast off her heroine disguise and turned into a full-fledged little chef. It's just her cooking skills were still nothing to brag about. Young master, I just learned a new dish today. Braised jade bonefish. Su Qing'an carried a plate. A suffocating aura of blood and malice lingers here all year round. And excitedly ran up to me. I stared at the miserable mess on the plate. 3 days later, Qing'an, let's talk about something. To dig up the Ling clan's ancestral tomb should be left to me. Those hands of yours are meant for holding a sword, not for making charcoal. I advised her earnestly. Su Qing'an blushed. Power to its limit. But I just want to cook something delicious for you, young master. Other men's wives are all gentle and virtuous. A gentle breeze blew by. When she said the word wife, death was never the end. Looking at her blushing cheeks, delivering a major blow to the upper realm's harvesters, staring at the scroll in my hands. I won't accept it. Who said my Qing'an only knows how to fight? Even if you do nothing at all, and just let me look at you every day, Lin Fan has come to take you out. Embarrassed, Su Qing'an buried her head in my chest. We held a funeral at the tallest peak of the valley to refine longevity pills, covering his eyes and chanting, "See no evil. Let not impropriety cause moral decay." The entire valley was filled with laughter and joy. Only a firmer conviction for Wang Biao. On the ancient coffin, the corners of my mouth twitching violently. Our job is to become stronger than anyone else. There was no complicated ceremony. At the grave, I suddenly stood up. Su Qing'an personally placed that blood-stained piece of heavenly profound wood. She dressed in a pure black robe and was utterly consumed by the evil aura, and bowed 3 times, her forehead thudding heavily. Has avenged you. That arrogant emperor of the wastelands is dead. We've repaid heaven's profound sect's blood debt. From today on, I will carry on the name of heaven's profound sect. Even if I die and my body is shattered, I will never take a single step back. Ruffling her long hair, It was as if Wang Bo's spirit in heaven. I can't just spend my whole life killing and fighting, can I? Was gently comforting Lin Daju. Playing that jade flute actually nailed the remains of the Lin ancestors here. The mournful melody echoed through the valley. Its tune was full of hardship and resilience. I stood by, silently, quietly watching it all. To capture all cultivators in the lower world who have reached divine skill level and above. My heart felt no sadness, instantly severed over a dozen soul lock nails on the outer rim. But behind these light-hearted days, my heart skipped a beat. So long as heaven's profound flame survives, I walked over to Su Qing'an and draped a cloak over her shoulders. The dead are gone, so strong that no one would ever dare threaten those we care about. Once the funeral was over, I looked toward the Lin family ancestral grounds. The moment I entered the Forbidden Land, I entered seclusion. If that emperor knew the secret of the upper realm, there must be clues in his vault. I led her through layers of mist. I flipped through books for 7 days and nights, until the 1-year deadline mentioned by the upper realm's giant eye. Those beasts from the higher realm is just one of 3,000 lower worlds under the upper realm. No wonder when I awakened my slaughter god foundation, every 1,000 years, the major sects of the upper realm send so-called harvesters to drain their life force. Oblivion is, they call it, harvesting leaks. Lin Daju drifted by nearby. As for that emperor who tried to seize the dragon vein for himself, turning them into bloody executioners for generations, the Lin clan was now keeping an extremely low profile, since she's lost all rationality. But what truly shocked me, the secret recorded at the end of the scroll about the Lin family. In ancient times, in the great wilderness, used the 1,000 illusions Jaluo mask to conceal our aura. There once was an unbeatable force called the Heaven-Shaking Sword Clan, and once led cultivators from the lower world up to the 9th heaven. For revenge, the upper realm's heavenly Tao laid down a boundless curse, with a furious roar, utterly sealing off the Sword Clan's bloodline. Their proud heaven-defying sword intent, firmly pinned in place, was twisted into a bloodthirsty and violent urge. This cursed family,
He simply realized the harvest was near.
Is none other than the present-day Lin family. My fingertips trembled. I had to use righteous energy to neutralize it, and pulled her into my arms. No wonder. Zhu Qing'an's face turned slightly pale. Generation after generation of the Lin family couldn't break through the key gathering stage, and could only comprehend the Tao through killing. Turns out, the Lin family were never-born villains, but the most tragic guardians of this world, shielding her in my arms. Golden light flashing from my eyes, knelt before the tombstone, treating my ancestors like animals. If this debt is not settled, I pushed open the door, and wanted to make one last desperate struggle, and happened to see Su Qing'an practicing her sword, pinching her nose. I walked up and took her hand. Qing'an, pack your things. We're going on a long journey. Su Qing'an put away her night-slaying sword, and looked at me in confusion. Young master, where are we going? A wild smile on my lips. We're going back to the Lin family, too shy to face anyone, and unearth the true legacy left by our ancestors. A shrill wail echoed out from inside the coffin, becoming neither human, with a single sword strike. Actually, for the past half a year, every time I pushed my spiritual, and take them all away, there was always a faint evil energy deep in my mind, trying to devour my consciousness. Her lips pouting in grievance. That must be the remains of that ancient curse. And now there are only 6 months left. If you kill someone, you only bow to the ground. I have to completely break this bloodline curse in a dusty ancient beast-hide scroll before the real harvester descends. This was where the Lin ancestors' tombs were located. 2 days later, we quietly returned to the Lin family. After the lesson I'd given them last time, the entire family had shut its doors to all outsiders, cursed and suppressed for tens of thousands of years, had been replaced by honest collateral relatives. I didn't alert anyone. Straight into the Lin family's forbidden back mountain. Even the clan leader wouldn't dare to step in easily. They protected all living beings for generations. Even though I awakened the saint body of 10,000 swords. Stop! Who dares trespass upon Lin clan territory? Young master, the evil aura here is so intense. with a black object that smelled burnt and weird, begin to boil uncontrollably. To study the pile of supplies I brought back from the Imperial secret vault, I felt the blood within me. She gripped her sword tightly. A call connected by blood echoed from deep underground, possessed only by pure killing intent. I immediately expanded my Slayer domain. I've always felt something wrong within my body, and arrived at the deepest part of the Forbidden Land, in front of a massive blood pool. What a twisted, hypocritical upper realm heavenly Tao. Don't be afraid, this is the roar of our Lin ancestors' undying wrath. And finally found the secret of today. At the center of the blood pool, every time the runes flickered, seeing those nails driven deep into the very bones, stood an ancient bronze coffin secured by 99 soul-lock nails. Despised by the world, just a simple cenotaph, were inscribed extremely vicious sealing runes from the higher realm. A wave of boundless fury surged in my heart. We're going to bring it out, and tormented them for tens of thousands of years. Ancestors, your descendants were unfilial, and awakened the full heaven-shaking sword. It turns out this great wilderness, it was an ancient requiem. I drew the Taixu sky-slaying sword, violent purple-gold sword energy. I could live another 500 years. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Just then, and took Su Qingyan. An extremely chilling explosion echoed from the bottom of the blood pool. The righteous path of this world will never die. My protective energy is being eroded. The blood churned, and a creature covered in red hair crawled out from the bottom, looking like a zombie. This creature emanated a terrifying aura of early divine master realm. This was once a brilliant, immortal sister of the Lin family. Then today, as a junior, who failed attempting to break the curse. Nor ghost. My heart ached with sorrow. Even the guards at the gate. Its eyes were blood red, but my eyes turned incredibly determined. Wang Bio Qing'an. From now on, dangerous places like the kitchen. Nor ghost. My heart ached with sorrow, but my eyes turned incredibly determined, and charged straight at the bronze coffin without hesitation. Completely devoid of sanity, I'll help you break free from the Taixu sword intense soul restraint. I didn't use the law of destruction. Instead, I unleashed the purest, most righteous sword energy. With one sword, I pierced straight through the red-haired monster's forehead. The righteous energy instantly purified the rampage in his body. The monster's body froze abruptly. The redness in his eyes gradually faded. A trace of human clarity and release appeared on his face. His shriveled lips trembled slightly. Looking at me, he gave a sincere piece of advice. The Lin family has finally produced a true legendary descendant. Shatter that coffin. Take back what's rightfully ours. After speaking, his body turned into countless starlight, and completely vanished between heaven and earth. Farewell, ancestor. I took a deep breath, then turned to look at the bronze ancient coffin. All my spiritual power surged within me. 36 techniques shone with dazzling light. The 10,000 sword saint body erupted completely. Heaven-splitting sword move, fourth form. A brilliant sword ray, over 1,000 feet long, carried an unstoppable force. It struck the bronze ancient coffin hard. Boom! Mixed with the harsh screech of metal shattering, those 99 soul-locking nails holding down the ancestor were all severed by me. The coffin lid exploded apart. In that instant, an incredibly pure aura, a mighty sword intent as if piercing the heavens, soared into the sky from the ancient coffin, directly dispelling the forbidden's grounds. Bloodthirsty energy that had lingered for tens of thousands of years. A massive sword-shaped shadow appeared in the sky. Every ceremonial sword in the Savage dynasty began to hum in worship at that moment. There were no remains in the ancient coffin, only a single drop, a faintly golden essence blood, shining with a piercing light. That was the first ancestor of the heaven-suppressing sword clan, leaving behind a drop of their primordial bloodline. To evade detection by the upper realm, it had been sealed here in this sunless place. That drop of essence blood seemed to sense my bloodline aura. It transformed into a streak of flowing light and shot straight into my forehead. Boom! It felt like my brain was about to explode. Countless vast and boundless memories rushed into the depths of my soul in an instant. They were the memories of Lin family ancestors soaring across the heavens, their invincible might as they slew gods and destroyed immortals. They had once been betrayed by the upper realm, robbed of their bloodline, full of despair and unwillingness. But they left behind this drop of essence blood as a final hope for their descendants to awaken. A warm current instantly traveled through my whole body. That trace of hidden bloodline curse within me was completely purified by this drop of essence blood. In its place was a flawless and invincible sword body. My cultivation didn't break through, but my foundation underwent a total transformation. System upgrade complete. That cold, ethereal voice sounded again. Ding, congratulations, host. Family bloodline curse removed. The heaven-shaking sword bones have fully awakened. All attributes increased tenfold. You have gained law immunity. Main mission updated. Face the upper realms invading army in half a year. Looking at the long list of stunning attributes on the system panel, I clenched my fist in satisfaction. At this point, even without using the Taiksu heaven-slaying sword, I could still demolish an ordinary sacred king with a single punch. I withdrew my aura, calming my surging bloodline. Turning around, I looked at Su Qingyan, who'd been silently watching over me. Let's go. Things here are finished. For the next 6 months, we need to prepare well for how we'll receive those guests dropping from the sky. We just walked out of the Forbidden Ground and ran into a large group of Lin family elders. The current family head, who happens to be one of my distant uncles, had brought dozens of elders. All of them knelt at the Forbidden Ground entrance, trembling. That earth-shaking event just now had already scared them out of their wits. As soon as I stepped out, they all bowed their heads to the ground, not even daring to breathe loudly. Patriarch Lin Fan and Miss Ning have returned. My uncle stammered. Looking at these people who once held themselves high, but now seemed as humble as dirt, I felt no resentment inside, just a faint, helpless sigh. Get up. Don't call me patriarch anymore. I no longer care about the Lin family. Casually, I tossed out a jade slip before him. This is our family technique, now evolved by me. In the future, Lin family disciples won't need to slaughter to enter the island anymore. Train well. Be proper people. Don't disgrace our ancestors again. After that, I ignored them completely and pulled Su Qingyan along. We rose into the air directly, vanishing into the clouds. The deadline for the upper realms harvesting approached ever faster. This past half year, the entire wildlands was shrouded in a strange, suffocating atmosphere. I didn't travel around much. Instead, I took Su Qingyan and visited every famous mountain and river in the wildlands. We watched the sunrise at the east shore and searched for oases in the endless sands of the West Desert. In the great southern mountains, we sparred and hunted rare and exotic beasts. I treated this as our pre-war honeymoon. Su Qingyan smiled more and more, her frosty demeanor gradually becoming more vibrant. Young master, this grilled fish is even tastier than last time. Beside the campfire, Su Qingyan took a small bite of the crispy-skinned carp, her eyes curving like crescent moons. I smiled and ruffled her hair. Eat more. You'll need energy for tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm taking you somewhere special. The next day, I brought her to the old ruins of the Tangshuan sect, once a home for immortals, now completely overgrown with weeds, transformed into a wasteland. A trace of sadness flashed across Su Qingyan's eyes, but determination quickly replaced it. I stood in the middle of the ruins, waved my arm widely, and mountains of top-grade spirit stones and formation materials poured down like a torrential rain. Today, let me show you a real magic trick. The power of the 10,000 sword saint body erupted with a roar. I used my will as the brush, and world energy as the ink, to draw an unprecedented super grand formation across a 100-mile radius. Then, I took out half of the Tangshuan wooden token from my storage ring and solemnly suspended it at the highest point of the ruins. With a loud shout, The earth quaked and mountains shook. Countless shattered palaces reassembled under the power of spirit energy. Broken peaks rose anew from the ground, and dried-up spirit springs gushed sweet water again. In the span of half an hour, a new and even more magnificent Tangshuan sect rose straight from the ground. Su Qing'an covered her mouth, tears streaming uncontrollably from her eyes. She knew. I was fulfilling my promises to Wang Biao and Lin Daozhu. I walked up to her and gently wiped away her tears. Sect Master, from now on, this is our home. Once we've handled all the trouble from above, we'll recruit disciples here in the future and have a bunch of healthy kids. How about it? Su Qing'an burst into laughter through her tears, her pretty face flushing as red as a ripe apple, and she stomped hard on my foot. Who wants to have a bunch of kids with you, you rascal? And just as this warm scene unfolded, my brow suddenly furrowed sharply. An overwhelming and unsettling sense of pressure came from the 9 heavens without any warning. The once clear, cloudless sky instantly turned into a deep, dark red. The entire world of the great wilderness. Spiritual energy stopped flowing at that moment, as if an almighty being had pressed the pause button. Time's up? I wiped the playful look off my face. My gaze instantly became cold and ruthless. Su Qing'an quickly drew his night-slaying sword and stood back to back with me. Crack, crack. A teeth-aching sound of shattering echoed deep within the sky. The sky looked like glass struck by a giant hammer. A terrifying crack stretched for thousands of miles. And on the other side of the rift, countless golden warships radiating celestial might slowly sailed out like a mass of storm clouds. On every massive ship stood fully armed cultivators from the upper realm. Even their weakest aura was at the divine mastery stage. The towering figures at the front emitted a presence far stronger than the divine mastery, a Saint King's oppressive force. Such a lineup could instantly flatten the great wilderness. Lower realm aunts. Limited edition enforcement. You dare defy your betters. Slaughter and harvest our divine consciousness. Today, none shall survive in the great wilderness. Not a single blade of grass will be left. A booming voice thundered like 10,000 bolts of lightning, exploding in every corner of the great wilderness. Countless mortals and low-ranking cultivators under this pressure died instantly, their bodies bursting apart. The apocalypse has truly arrived. I looked at the sky filled with golden giant swords. My blood burned madly with excitement. The void sky-slaying sword seemed to sense its master's fighting spirit and let out an awe-inspiring roar. The ancient, earth-shattering sword arrives, a fine group of hypocritical scum. Today I'll use your blood to consecrate Tangshuan's new gate. I was just about to soar to the sky. Suddenly, from the very center of the sky, a massive purple-gold battleship appeared. A towering figure slowly walked out, wearing an imperial robe adorned with 9 dragons. When I saw his face clearly, even I couldn't help but have my pupils contract sharply and gasp in shock. That face, those deep and domineering eyes, even the wild and unrestrained aura, looked exactly like me. The only difference was, he had a blood-red, inverted cross mark at the center of his brow, exuding an aura of supreme authority over all living beings. So you finally decided to show yourself. My disappointing shadow. That big shot from the upper realm who looks exactly like me looked down with condescension, a mocking smirk curling at the corner of his mouth. Back then, I cast a strand of my toxic soul remnant into this cage, intending to let you fend for yourself amidst all the evil energy. Who'd have thought you'd make such big waves, and even awaken the legendary heaven-sealing sword I always dreamed of? Well, that's good too. The fruit is ripe now, and it's finally time for me to harvest it. I was stunned for a second, then couldn't help but burst out into wild laughter. So after all this, I'm actually a damn clone. No wonder. The system kept making me act crazy and play the fool at first. But as soon as my laughter stopped, my eyes turned razor sharp. But you got one thing wrong. Who's the real one? And who's the shadow? We'll only know after this fight. If you want to pick my fruits, be careful not to get your teeth smashed in. I didn't look back, just gripped Su Qing'an's hand tightly. Qing'an, are you scared? Su Qing'an intertwined her fingers with mine, her smile as beautiful as a blooming flower. With you by my side, even if I cross into the depths of the underworld, it would still feel like admiring flowers. Great, my spirits soared. I gripped the void heaven-striking sword in reverse, awakening the power of the saintly sword physique. All 36 levels of divine powers roared in unison. Golden light erupted beneath my feet, forming a brilliant river of stars that shot straight to the heavens. Today I, Lin Fan, will defy the heavens with my wounded body, and let all the gods and Buddhas above witness what a true heaven-shattering sword looks like. I'm going all the way up. With my wild laughter, I turned into a dazzling white light tearing through the darkness, charging forward with unstoppable resolve and dominance, heading straight for the golden armored army in the sky, and for that arrogant other version of myself. An ultimate battle that could overturn both realms erupted with a thunderous roar beneath the doomsday sky. Yet this is only the beginning of my own legend, the wildest one yet. Doesn't matter if you're the original or a clone, upper realm or a lower realm, doesn't matter. Anyone who dares to block my path, I'll cut you all down with my sword.